All right, welcome back to Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020 World Tour. This is now, I think, the fourth attempt at recording this video. Had the game crash, just like it did on our last video. Our last video, we were heading from Iceland to the Faroe Islands, and the game crashed. It did save us quite a bit of flying over just water, but we will be flying over a lot of water today also. We're going to fly over the Faroe Islands and then head southeast towards the United Kingdom. Today, right now, it is Sunday, August 14th at 2:07 p.m. Eastern Time. The current conditions in the Faroe Islands pretty cloudy and sunset is coming up soon, so I have adjusted the weather to clear skies and bumped the time back to about 5 o'clock p.m. So we should get mostly sunny conditions and then maybe a little sunset at the end of our flight. Our last video was extremely choppy, especially over Reykjavik. The second half of the flight I think was okay, but the Reykjavik part was definitely a lot choppier than I'd like. So I still don't exactly have the perfect settings for this game as far as what my computer can handle. So hopefully this flight is a lot smoother. We'll see how it goes. As far as what we're listening to today, if this video actually will work here, there was no Friday episode of the Tony Kornheiser show, so I think what we'll do is listen to the Sharp and Benning radio show from Friday, August 12th. That'll talk about national sports, but then also a lot of Nebraska football talk. I'm sure the millions and millions of people watching this are fascinated by Nebraska football talk, but I am originally from Nebraska, and so therefore a huge Nebraska/college football fan. And so I'm excited for college football coming up here soon in a couple weeks. If we get through all of the Sharp and Benning radio show from Friday, we might go to some other podcasts like Men in Blazers. I'm also a Chelsea fan. Unfortunately, we had the draw today with Tottenham Hotspur 2-2. Should have been a win, but we gave up a goal in extra time to Harry Kane, who's pretty damn good, but we still should have won that game. But we'll see how far we get, see if this game crashes on us. If it doesn't crash, we'll try to get as close to the United Kingdom as possible. But here we go. Looks like we'll have to turn around. We're facing the wrong direction. We're going to have to turn around and head over the Faroe Islands, head towards the United Kingdom. We're going to start the flight here, listening to the Sharp and Benning show from Friday, August 12th.
In the morning on 1620 The Zone, 1620thezone.com, and the 1620 The Zone app. Here's Jimmy Allen and Rob Love.
1-1 on Javi Baez. I always forget how young he is. Fly ball left field. This one's deep. Going back, Quan at the fence. Gone! Javi Baez with number 11. Tigers are on the board. Now trailing 3-1 here in the sixth.
The pitch. And sends it deep to left. Going back is Dickerson. He's running out of room. It's gone! First pitch he sees, Brendan Rodgers. A 3-run bomb to left field. And the Rockies have broken this thing open in the seventh.
And now the 0-1. Driven toward left center. That's going to be a gapper. It's going to go all the way out toward the wall. Rounding third and heading home is Wisdom. And here comes the relay to the plate. Patrick Slide scores. RBI double. Seiya Suzuki. Cubs lead 1-0.
This one hit pretty well out to left. Long run for Allen. Turning and looking. And off the smaller LED board for a solo home run to left center.
Phillies down to their final strike. 0-2 on Marsh. Here's the lefty's pitch. Swung on, grounded towards first, charging Diaz. He's got it, steps on the bag, and that's the ball game. Phillies load him up in the ninth, but can't come up with a late rally today. And their 7-game win streak comes to an end.
Maldonado crushes one deep to left field, and you can kiss that one goodbye. Onto the train tracks for a 3-run home run for Maldonado. His 12th homer of the year. 3-0 Astros.
Swing and a long one to right field. That one is way out of here. Big fly, Nolan Gorman. And the Cardinals get on the board. It's 2-1 Colorado as Gorman just hit home run number 13.
Here it comes. A swing and a miss. Ball game. And the Guardians have swept the Tigers. They get their 9th win in extra innings. And after Detroit got 2 in the 9th to tie it, Cleveland comes back to beat Detroit in 10 innings, 4-3.
quite dramatic cliffs here on this island.
Good morning, everybody.
Not sure that's
Jimmy Allen
100%
back in.
accurate.
Last day of Jimmy Allen in the morning. In for Gary today. Rob Love in for Damon Betting.
Yeah, Rob.
Yeah, Rob. There you go. Nobody's listening to me. They're here for all the Rob loving they can get.
All the love.
Thank you for listening. However you may be listening this morning, whether it be 1620 The Zone, 1620thezone.com, or the 1620 The Zone app. Don't forget it is still AM radio. We got a great show lined up for you this morning. It's a Friday, and you know what that means. Go ahead and pull up a seat. We got Matt Verzal in to talk to us about betting lines, Nebraska football, beer, pizza, wing, more.
All the man stuff.
Mike Schaefer from 24/7 is going to join us as well. And Mike Sauter, who was supposed to be sitting in that chair today, no problem, Sauter. He had some stuff come up. He's going to join us to talk about Wing Zero and high school football, wrestling, tacos, Chuck Mulligan, and a whole lot more.
More man stuff.
Give us a call this morning, 402-951-1620 to weigh in on anything we're talking about. You can get at the show, at Sharpen Betting on Twitter. You can get at me, at Jimmy Allen 1620. You can get at Rob Love, at After Hours, Love it, Luvin on Twitter. Let us know what your thoughts are on anything we're talking about today. Tell us why we're wrong. We're going to talk about the Field of Dreams game last night and how there's not going to be one next year, and thank God. Davenport, Iowa's Little League team punched their ticket to Williamsport yesterday. At 7 o'clock, putting pods in the Big Ten. We're going to add 4 teams to the Big Ten, including Notre Dame. We're going to break them down into divisions and what that may look like for you as well. In news from yesterday, they're going to retire Bill Russell's number. And for anybody that doesn't know, he wore 6. But they're going to grandfather in anybody like LeBron who is currently wearing that number until they retire or choose to switch their jersey. What's your take on retiring numbers? Because mine is, I don't like it because you don't get the ability to honor that player by doing it.
I mean, you got to be a special player. In my
Agreed.
opinion.
Like an 11-time champion, or say.
For starters. But no, your Jordans of the world, obviously your Bill Russells. And, Bill Russell, he transcended sports. He was a civil rights activist.
Stood with Dr. King.
First black NBA coach of all time.
Do you know that he was a pallbearer in Jackie Robinson's funeral?
That surprised me. I did not know that. But,
Yeah, I just learned that a week ago.
Yeah.
And when Jackie Robinson is moved by how important you are to the civil rights movement, that
Absolutely.
his wife asks you to be a pallbearer, I mean, that kind of tells you everything.
Absolutely. So, if a team wants to retire a number, within their Ring of Honor or whatever, maybe don't retire the number. Just put the number and the name up there. At one time,
that's where
this
I'm at.
great man wore this number and wore it well, and we honor him.
Because what if the loss of Bill Russell inspires a youth to hop on YouTube and learn about the man and be inspired to wear 6? And if he goes on a journey to the NBA, he doesn't have the ability to do that. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I think that's a disservice. To me, retiring their number is almost removing them from relevance.
Good point.
I
see what you're saying.
I get the notion of it, and the time it happens, it makes sense to honor them in that way. But I think it takes away the ability to continue their legacy down the road. Like if they ever got rid of the number 23 in the NBA because of MJ, I wouldn't like. I didn't get to watch Bill Russell, obviously, so I don't have the appreciation or the affinity for him that some people may be as a basketball player.
Right.
I mean, obviously as a human being, that's not even debatable. But for example, my kids aren't going to see number 6 out on the basketball court. They're never going to understand why. And if you give somebody the ability to have that number, it gives the ability for that legacy to live on the court.
So they retiring the number completely from
The entire NBA, yes.
Wow. Okay. That's I mean, I get it. If there was any player, Bill Russell's definitely worthy.
The greatest champion in
type of
American
honor.
team sports.
Yes. I mean, I get what you're saying.
I think it's an honor at the time, but when so much time passes, you're just never going to see a number 6 on the court, and there's not going to be an explanation why, because it's just been retired, and you know what I mean?
And then but you know what? That's where the folklore comes in.
You know what I mean? That's where you, as an NBA fan, you explain to Ruth.
This guy.
You know why nobody's wearing number 6?
Yeah, but how is it going to come up? Yeah, see what I mean?
Hardly ever,
if it's
but-
not there, why? I mean, she's not going to look at 10 different numbers on the court and go, hey, there's no number 6. You know what I mean? That's just not. There's also not, what, 90 other numbers not out there.
Well, Dennis Rodman wore 96.
But you know what I'm saying.
I know what but no, I, you know, it's a tough one for me to answer because I get it. You know, yes, you know, if like you said, when Michael Jordan passes, I don't not wishing that, but when it happens,
if he ever does, I mean, he might be.
he may.
Hey, death tried to kill me, and I think that person.
You know, who wouldn't understand if no one was ever allowed to wear number 23 ever again?
I 100% understand it. I'm just.
But are you ever going to run into the problem? Well, why don't we retire so and so's number? Are we going to run into that ever?
No, because I think it's just such rare air that you shouldn't have to explain it, right? I mean, if you're talking about 11 NBA titles, you don't need to explain why Bill Russell. If you just show somebody any clip from Michael Jordan's popularity off the basketball court in the 90s, on top of having 6 championships, you don't need to explain why that number would be retired. But to me, obviously we can't have this conversation with Bill because he's gone. But I wonder how many guys would want that. Because when Fitz was in this on Monday, we played a clip of Bill Russell and Kobe Bryant having a conversation, and the look on Kobe Bryant's face was like a 6-year-old at a candy store. Like, he could not believe Bill Russell took the time out of his day to come over and talk. And he brought up reading Bill's book to him, and Bill finished the conversation with, "I couldn't be more proud of you if you were my son." And the current generation of basketball players may have the ability to read Bill Russell's book and obviously be explained who Bill Russell is. But it's taking away a general conversation that can come up organically if somebody's wearing number 6. I think about old timers at a bar. A running back wearing 22. You might be wearing 22
Or 20.
or Barry Sanders or Emerson.
I got you.
It just organically that can come up in a conversation, and their memory can be brought up. I think if you take them off the court, if you take that number off the court, it takes away from their legacy.
That way, neither here nor there. I think Jim Brown would be one of those guys.
Yeah,
for the NFL.
100%.
If it were ever happening in the NFL, when he does a timely pass, if they took that number away, I would get it. Who wouldn't understand that?
But do we want that though? I get it's supposed to be honoring somebody, and they will be.
I don't think it's necessary.
It feels like a disservice to the person you're trying to honor. Did you have a go-to number when it was jersey pick day?
8. But it wasn't because of Kobe or anything. Or Troy Aikman.
Why 8?
It looked like the infinity. It's
your logo.
I don't know what it is. I'm a weird mind when it comes to.
You get this stuff.
Yeah.
Weird.
Yeah.
Chance?
Capital W.
In your historic football career, did you have a go-to number that you picked your group?
No, I kind of got lucky with the number I got.
The fact that you're smiling tells me. Go ahead.
Well, basically it was freshman year. Everyone got their numbers, and I got 77 from Mr. Michael Huff.
I thought you were going to say something.
No, I'm being genuinely serious.
Yeah.
And how many guys wear the set? They were just handed a number their freshman year, and like, I'll stick with this. Is mine.
What was the first sport you played as a kid?
Soccer.
Really?
YMCA.
Chance, what was your first sport?
1983.
Probably
Should have seen.
It's probably pretty close between soccer and t-ball.
Never played soccer. So I played t-ball first and then baseball. And the reason I am a Yankees fan is because of my grandfather and why I like sports. Because Lord knows it's not because of my father. My dad is like the least biggest sports fan I've ever met in my life. But he told me about Joe DiMaggio when I was younger, and he had a Joe DiMaggio baseball card, like a knockoff one. It wasn't. It's worth probably about $4. But I wore number 5 for that reason, and I always wore 5 until I got older, and then I was a big Michael Vick fan, so I started wearing 7 before I shattered my ankle. But I always, whether it was baseball, football, whatever it was, I wore 5 until that point. I think that's actually kind of why I had like such a love for Reggie Bush too. That's my guy. He's got my number. Tom Izzo signed an extension at Michigan State yesterday. 5 years, $31 million. Tom Izzo's 67 years old. And
Probably the last one.
that's where this is going. By the time this contract is done, he'll be 72 years of age. That's math, folks. That's 2 years younger than Coach K just was when he retired. Does it surprise you that Michigan State is investing this money now? And does it surprise you that Tom Izzo might want to coach 5 more years? Because we're seeing Roy Williams walk away, seeing Coach K walk away. There's a changing of the guard in college basketball.
Well,
Jay Wright just retired.
I think this is kind of along the lines of the Lakers giving Kobe that last $54 million for 4 years.
Yeah,
It's kind of a going away. Hey, we know you're probably planning on
come back away with the fans someday.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's doing him a solid, all the way out. And, I'm an Izzo guy.
I mean, was there
Excellent career.
any fear for Michigan State that Tom Izzo might be going somewhere else? I
Maybe.
highly doubt that was the case.
I remember, what was it, last year? I remember he was possibly going to take that Cleveland job but the reason why he didn't take it is because LeBron didn't know if he was going to go to Cleveland for sure or not, even though he ended up going to Cleveland.
Does anybody want to see that? Does anybody want to see Tom Izzo coach in the NBA at this point? I know there's always talk about Coach K taking jobs, Roy Williams, Bill Self. Does anybody actually want that?
That's the top of level of competitive basketball, man. Like, who doesn't want to try to win a title?
No. I'm not saying do those coaches as a fan.
No, I know. That's what I'm
Does
saying.
anybody
Like,
want that?
I do. I like to see guys challenge themselves. You know what I mean? We've seen it not work out well at all.
More often than not, yeah.
Guys who are legends in coaching college football, they try to make that transition to NFL.
Looking at you,
It's
Urban
like,
Meyer.
wow, Steve Spurrier.
Yeah.
Like, what?
Is that the biggest failure for you?
In my lifetime that I remember, yeah.
I mean, I think the easy low-hanging fruit would be Urban Meyer just because of everything else that happened.
Urban's on that list.
But I don't know if I would include him just because he didn't get fired because he only won 2 footballs. You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't his coaching acumen that did him in.
It was just unawareness and stupidity.
To put it mildly.
I would say probably one of the most successful might be
Jimmy Johnson.
Jimmy Johnson, of course. Bill Parcells, or not Parcells, but Barry Switzer.
Or
He inherited that team.
Pete Carroll the second time.
Pete Carroll, yeah. So it can work.
Right. I mean, if you're a good coach, you're a good coach. But I think so many times, maybe even more so now in sports now, there's such a focus on recruiting in college, and now adding NIL into it and social
Players
media.
win games.
Right, and when you're at Alabama, when you're at Ohio State, it's so much easier to walk in with the A or the Buckeye on your polo, and the 5-star just falls into your lap and the check cashes.
And
Did you see the Bentley we left you in your drive?
Right.
There's more of those in Columbus, Ohio.
But you know what? If that's what it's going to take to bring real parity across the board of all college sports,
According to Nick Saban,
let's even
it makes it less even. If you were 18-year-old Rob Love, Nick Saban walked into your living room with a set of car keys, which car would you want waiting for you out in the driveway?
Simple, man. It's simple. Dodge Charger.
Yeah.
I don't need an SRT or nothing like that.
Chance Oliver,
Um,
you've helped Michael Huffman get a head coaching job, as we've stated many times before, with your athletic prowess.
Sure.
Somehow it didn't equate to the college football game. If you were being recruited and a car was promised to you,
We all have our path. I would take, does it have to be a new car?
no.
I would like either a vintage Chevy Blazer that looks like what
Oh, good call.
Chief Brody had in Jaws.
Nice.
I'd want one of those, or a nice pick 'em up truck for all the nice things I would have to pick 'em up for.
Were you here for that when we interviewed Huffman on After Hours? I don't remember. And we jokingly told him that Chance said he got him his job at Bellevue West.
Yeah.
And he goes,
I
yeah,
was
that's
there.
true.
Yeah.
That was amazing.
Well, you know,
Just for any context.
Chance, how would you stay? Well, I guess now you
I
wouldn't
didn't need a
have-
Bellevue West mom calling in. Did you hear this?
no,
Shout out to
We've
Bell.
gotten that
Anyone-
call before.
Shout out to Bell West.
anyone
Yeah.
in Bell West, I just went to Calhoun when Huffman was there. Don't yell at me. Your children are very hard workers. They're in good hands with Huffman. Leave me alone.
I think my vehicle choice would be a 95 Jeep Sahara floorboard stick.
Nice. Like the Jurassic Park stickers.
Yeah, exactly.
There you go.
Exactly that vehicle, actually. Rob Love in for David Ben this morning, Jimmy Allen in for Gary Sharp on a Friday night at 6:22. The Field of Dreams game last night, a little less interesting than the game before last year. We're going to talk about it when we come back here at 16:20.
¿Te preocupan las enfermedades?
A Friday morning here on 1620 The Zone. Jimmy Allen in for Gary Sharp. Rob Love in for Damon Benning. Chance Oliver just doing all of the Chance Oliver things. The Field of Dreams game was last night. And for anybody that has grown accustomed to this 2-year tradition so far, got some bad news for you. It will not be back next year. There's construction going on at the field. So it will be pushed back at least one more year. Comparisons between the two games. I think a lot of people thought it didn't matter who ended up playing this game. You'd just be able to sneeze and hit a home run, and that'd be understandable because last year in the Yankees-White Sox 8-9 game, there was 8 home runs. Last night, goose egg. 0 home runs in the Field of Dreams game last night. There were more holograms of dead people than there were home runs in the Field of Dreams game. What did you think of the end of the game? Did you like it? Are you glad that it's going to be gone for a year? And would you like to see this be an annual thing?
End of the game was. I didn't catch it. Was that the when they did the hologram?
No, that was they did that for take that to the ballpark.
7th inning stretch. It was kind of a drag. We were watching here. It was nothing really happening in the game. It was Chicago got up early, and it was kind of lullaby, for
Wasn't even like
6
a
innings.
great pitching duel either.
No,
to be
it
honest.
was just like they were there.
Is it on Major League Baseball if you're going to have an attraction game like this to make a concentrated effort to make sure that the teams that are participating are draws, or is the game a big enough draw?
I think this is something they should do earlier in the season.
I agree with that.
Before the All-Star break.
I understand that you don't want to risk like weather and it maybe being colder in Iowa. Just have it before the All-Star break in early June. You're going to be fun.
Late May, early June. As we were kind of touching on it last night, I think this is something. Do a different baseball movie, every year maybe. How about go to Durham,
Yeah.
North Carolina, go and do that the minor league stadium that Bull Durham was done in,
I always thought it'd be cool if they did one Major League game a year in a minor league stadium. Because you've got plenty. Like I think about.
Which I think they kind of already do a little bit, but
Well, I mean, you like in the preseason, like the Chasers will play the Royals and stuff in preseason, but like
You need to have two
want
major league teams.
Yeah,
play, right?
I want to.
Game.
I want to see a legit game, like because I think about like the Jack in Daytona, the Jackie Robinson Field,
Right.
where the backdrop is literally the ocean, and but it's a very old rustic stadium that they haven't really renovated, but they've kept up they've taken care of it in the wood in the stadium to where it doesn't look horrible, but it's also very nostalgic. And granted, you're probably going to get 5,000 people max in that venue, but it's a great visual, and I think it'll help out the minor league markets in a time where they probably really need it. Yeah, and I mean, you get a lot of guys that probably have either played there or have memory of those fields or whatever it may be. What inspired me to have that thought process is during COVID, there was conversations about finding other places to play other than college football stadiums. And I always thought that it would have been awesome if Nebraska could have found a way, since they weren't going to have fans, to travel to high school fields.
Yeah.
I thought that would have been such a cool visual.
There's some pretty big high school stadiums.
Well, they wouldn't even need it. They would just need the field because they would have fans.
Right.
And because I thought the visual of an empty 90,000 seat stadium, or even in the NFL, I thought it was a horrible look. Yeah. And I was thinking of the visual presentation, and then the close, tight knit, intimate feeling in that stadium last night for the Field of Dreams game is great. It's such a cool, because you don't see the backdrop at Kaufman and the entire upper bowl is completely empty. You don't get that. You don't get that visual.
Right.
And that's not a knock to Royals fans, because it's not unique to Kansas City.
Right.
To make, there's so much investment going into the TV product versus the stadium product now. Make it look cool.
Yeah. Aesthetically. I don't know. I think baseball is out of touch. Just they don't know how to market properly, and they never really.
It doesn't seem like they care either, right? Am I crazy in thinking that?
Because it's they market, when they do market, they market to one generation and era of fan.
Agreed.
And they move on with their day. Like, you're going to buy the tickets. You're going to come to the games anyway. That's what we really want. You know, it's kind of like the movie industry. They don't want movie theaters to go away.
Right.
The silver screen, right? That's what baseball is. You know, the stadiums are the movie theaters. It's the big screen. You know what I mean?
Is it so much focus on Dodgers, Red Sox, Yankees, Cubs,
Far too much,
Cubs,
yes.
Cardinals to some degree?
Yes.
And you turn those those games on, and you've got we'll be generous and say a 70 to 100% full stadium.
Yeah.
That when you turn on the Pirates, the Twins, I guess the Rays, but that's not really MLB's role. And those are empty. That it doesn't get noticed enough because the top market teams do have the attendance, even if they're bad.
Yeah. I don't know. But what do you do if your team is just horrible? People don't want to come watch a bad product. What are you supposed to do?
But the problem is in Tampa specifically, when they're winning the AL East, there's 9 people there, and it doesn't help that the Trop is just dumb. But
that's for starters. That stadium is it's a hazard.
But I just
to play in.
It's crazy to me that minor league baseball and major league baseball are technically the same industry because of how much. Like and we're spoiled here because what Marty Cordero and those guys out of Warner Park do is fantastic. Yeah. But it's not just unique to them. I mean, it's minor league baseball is an event where a baseball game happens.
You get value with every ticket you buy.
And whether it be what they do out there with like Star Wars Day or Bark at the Park or whatever it is, you have a reason to go. And then, by the way, you got to watch some pretty good baseball while you're there.
Up and comers, young talent.
But
it's an excellent point.
The reason I brought up the Jack earlier is because when I did live in Daytona, a friend of mine was the head doctor for the Tortugas. They're
Double A.
Yeah, sorry, thank you. I was just say 1 AA. I'm like, nope, that's college. Double A. They're the Double A affiliate of of the Rays, and like I thought that it was unique to Omaha. Like it was like, okay, they do such good. It's like no, like they would have like 3-leg races for the kids and face painting day or whatever. But there was always something else and a baseball game going on. And then you get to Major League Baseball, and yeah, they have like bobblehead night, and Alex Gordon will come out and wave to the fans at Coffin or whatever. But it's like, okay, it's literally just baseball and $12 hot dogs. And that's the attraction.
$16 beers. Yeah, no, that's on Major League Baseball.
Because you asked me what else you would do, and I think that's the answer. I think the roles have reversed where I would like to see like percentage to population ratio for AAA teams and Major League teams, because obviously you're going to get more fans at a Major League stadium, but how does that equate to the population of the city versus the minor league affiliate? That's something I would like to see, because I can't imagine it's that far off.
Well, you just said it. I think a lot of these minor league teams they are staples in their communities, and they've given back. You know, they those players they live amongst regular citizens in their neighborhood.
That's normal.
Well, in Major League Baseball, however,
out there in the
you don't see much anything going on outside of a Major League stadium except for scalpers selling tickets.
Not tailgates. On opening day, maybe.
Yes. There are some fan bases that do really do the tailgating. Kansas City is definitely one of them.
Well, before June.
But not all ballparks do that. I mean, a lot of ballparks don't even have that kind of,
right,
facility.
Yeah.
Like the Wrigley, there's no tailgating outside.
Well, that's because you got Wrigley.
Maybe at the neighborhoods, certain houses.
It's because they built the bars around the stadium,
True.
I mean, it's not like there's tailgating.
So you're tailgating at the bar.
It's not necessarily on a tailgate, but there's folks getting lubed up for the game for sure.
So I guess it just depends, because culturally,
because Fenway is kind of the same way, where like bars are built around it.
Definitely.
Well, okay, so that brings up an issue, because there's talk about, in Kansas City, maybe moving the ballparks downtown and giving it a different feel. Which approach do you like better? Would you rather a stadium be in an area where there's a parking lot, or maybe in this case neighborhoods, and you get the tailgating feel, or would you rather have it? Hey, I can go get a beer and watch the other games that are going on right now, and then be able to go in.
And now, if everybody was smart, if they did choose to move, I think Kansas City's downtown is amenable. They could do it downtown.
It's going to be interesting to see where they put it at if they decide to.
Yeah, they'll have to clear something out. Something will get moved.
Right.
But you put it somewhere near the plaza.
More power and light.
But my main thing is make it easy to get in and out of. If there is parking,
I was going to say, is there any way in Kansas City to get easy to get in and out of? That city is kind of
huge parking lot, but they bottleneck the entry.
One
to
way
the
in, one way out,
lot.
baby.
It's like, why would you do that? Like, make a couple more entrances, but
I don't think they understand how spoiled they are to have Kauffman and Arrowhead in the same parking lot, because you have as much parking. Like I get the lure of let's build something downtown and make it a downtown experience, and probably help.
That's the move right now.
Well, I think everybody hated it here in Omaha, and then they saw how much it recreated a completely new environment.
It's growing on me.
That was a dead part of the city.
Yeah,
and that makes sense to me. And I obviously, as a South Omaha kid, I hate what it's done to that part of town, but they're kind of coming back with like Benson South too down there in Little Bohemia. So there's some renovation going on there, but it's one of those things that everybody's chasing the dollar. And that's not something new, but what are we risking? Does it become less important? And there's nobody in the city, if given truth serum, would say that Rosenblatt was a better place to watch a baseball game than TD Ameritrade. The Chuck, Charles Schwab Field. It's one of the best baseball experiences that I've ever been, including Major League Baseball. But Is that because it's downtown, or is it just because they built a brand new stadium? Because I think it has a little bit more to do with the fact that they just built a stadium from the ground up.
Yeah.
Was this year when you went down there because to do radio the first time you'd been down there?
No, I've been down there a couple other times.
Because you're not a big crowd guy.
Nah, the TV product is too good for me. And I'm a larger gentleman.
I love my couch.
Yeah, I'm a larger gentleman, so a lot of times, when it's a packed house, I don't like rubbing shoulders with the person, especially if I don't know them.
And it's
sweaty.
I was about to say it's hot out.
Nah, it's just not my thing. So, as far as, you're right. Nobody was going to say that right now they're just a total overall valued experience of watching a game. Nobody's going to say that the Schwab is not better than Rosenblatt was. But for myself, and I'm sure you're the same way. Chance, you might, I don't know how much baseball you've taken up in your life. But Rosenblatt just feels like it has the soul.
It was a hollow ground.
It has the soul of whatever baseball is. And I don't even know how to describe that, but if you love baseball,
let's say
you know what I'm talking about.
Let's say they just tore the stadium down, and they built the same exact stadium where Rosenblatt was.
Still wouldn't be the same.
Okay, that's what I was going to ask. But I think it does, because I think it matters aesthetically how they did it, because if you can still see the zoo in the background, and you still had the hill that led up to the outfield, and all of that, obviously that airflow to get the balls to carry out of the stadium wouldn't hurt either, but I think it would have done the same exact thing, but obviously they got the pressure from the NCAA to move downtown or to move to Indianapolis. So, I mean, was it the right move? I hesitate to say yes, because I don't know if you could have accomplished the same thing by keeping it where it was, and because it needed to be downtown. That area wasn't even downtown. It was such a dead part of the city. There was so many abandoned buildings and stuff down there that it just extended downtown to it going north.
Right.
Why couldn't you have done that going south?
All the other businesses followed the money.
Right. Zesto's
the
is gone.
Investment happened right there, and so okay, well, this is where we're going to set up.
Right. So it just feels like they could have accomplished the same thing where it was, and instead of extending downtown north, extending it south, and then you don't lose anything that you had anyway.
Okay, let me ask you this: what if that development would have required knocking down houses in that?
Which it probably would have.
Yes.
But here's my response to that: those homeowners would have made more money for their house than at any other point that they're going to sell it. The property value would have skyrocketed.
Absolutely. But you know how that goes. People live somewhere their entire lives.
Yes.
I don't care how much money you put on that check.
Until the check's in front of you.
Until the check's in front of you. But you know what I mean? You would have a few
See the zeros on
holdouts.
this thing?
You would have a few holdouts that were just like, I'm not going anywhere.
Well, I mean, you kind of...
It's my house.
How do I say this?
When you got to remind them about eminent domain.
You kind of have that issue downtown.
A little bit.
And not from homeowners, but business owners.
Commercial, yeah.
Where their place of business sticks out like a sore thumb. And I get it, because if I'm them, why would I sell now when the value is just going up and up and up and up?
Big Cardi B.
I'm just going to leave my haunted house and go downtown. That's what I'm referring to. 6:45 on a Friday morning. Sharp Betting in the morning. Jimmy Allen in for Gary. Rob Love in for Damon Benning. Chance Oliver. Still single and available, ladies. 402-951-1620. Shoot your shot this morning. We'll be right back talking about Davenport, Iowa's Little League tape, punching their tape to Williamsport here on 1620.
¿Te preocupan las enfermedades de transmisión sexual? Citizens for Citizens Family Planning está aquí para ayudar. Proveemos pastillas anticonceptivas.
That was my jam. That's one of the best songs to have in your rotation when you're working out. I don't care how tired you are. You're about to knock out 20 push-ups right now, aren't you?
I was gonna let you go. I'm like, hey, welcome,
Man, LL, shouts out to you.
You're now about to witness the power of street knowledge, folks.
Yes.
Jimmy Allen, in for Gary Sharp, Rob Love, dropping the mic. And in for David Betting this morning. It's a dance party on YouTube. Make sure you check us out on the stream. Welcome, Ben. Second hour Sharp and Betting in the morning. Chance Oliver playing nothing but the hits. Nothing but the hits. We're talking more football, folks. It is football season. Let's get into it. We're going to take a look into the future. We're going to do an experiment here. USC and UCLA have obviously joined the Big Ten. We're going to bring in a couple more teams, hypothetically as well, because obviously conference realignment isn't going anywhere, and probably not even close to being done. For experimental sakes, we're going to add Washington and Oregon, because obviously there was a discussion that they asked to join the Big Ten. Said, whoa. The next lifeboat will be back in a minute. let us send one to South Bend, Indiana. And for experimental purposes, we're also going to add Notre Dame and Boston College to the equation to get the Big Ten to 20 teams. And if they were to split those up into pods, what does that look like? So essentially, we're going to take the Big Ten and make it the AFC. We're going to break it down into 14 pods and call that what now is referred to as a division. Instead of having 8 to 10 teams, they're going to have 4. Did you name your divisions?
A, B, C, and D.
Okay, because I was going to name them geographically, and then I couldn't really think of what to call whatever would be
You
in the
said
middle.
we are adding Notre Dame and Boston College?
Yes.
Okay.
Sorry, because I originally said Stanford, and then I realized that would unbalance.
That would
the
give us
West Coast.
16 teams.
Well, it's 20. Because there's
20
16 with USC and UCLA, and then you add Washington, Oregon, Boston College, Notre Dame. Sorry, I know I changed it up. Did I screw you up?
You're good.
Okay. I did do it geographically. I just named them groups 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5.
Yeah.
I'm going to start this off. Group 1, I just put all the teams on the West Coast. I did Oregon, Washington, USC, and UCLA. Because obviously I think that makes the most sense, right? And then I don't think I realized how far away LA is from Pullman, Washington. It's 1,112.9 miles or an 18-and-a-half-hour car ride right now.
Yeah.
People made such a big deal about LA to New Jersey, and yeah, that's about double the distance. But that's still a long travel for USC anytime they got to go up and play Washington.
Yeah.
The shortest distance, obviously, being USC to UCLA. That's only their campus is only 12 miles away. Some people don't realize that. They are in LA, and LA being as big as it is, it's still relatively close. But Eugene to Pullman is still a 7.5-hour car ride. We're in 458.3 miles, but still plane rides not nearly as far if you keep those 4 schools together.
Yeah.
Is that what you ended up doing with your first group?
Hey, I'm a regional guy as well.
Okay.
So I had USC, UCLA, Washington, Oregon, and then from there, I guess you need one more.
So we're doing 4 teams, 5 groups.
4 teams, 5
Not
groups.
5
Okay.
and 4. Sorry.
All right. So then, that would be my West Coast pod, right?
So I just kind of moved left to right across the map, right?
Yeah, me too.
And Group 2 would get you Nebraska, Minnesota, Iowa, Wisconsin. The furthest trip would be Lincoln to Madison, which is 7 hours and 22 minutes in a car, 473.9 miles. Works out best for Wisconsin from a travel standpoint. Only 268.5 miles to Minneapolis from Madison, just 250.74 miles away from Iowa City. The difference in those 2 trips is just 13 minutes. If you're talking, when they have to play Group 1, 1,970 miles to LA and 925 miles from Piscataway. So almost the most centralized between left and right coast.
Yeah, that's good centralization. Easy logistics.
Group 3 and 4 are interesting because of the biggest division versus the strongest division. I have Northwestern, Purdue, Indiana, Illinois for Group 3.
Okay.
The furthest trip is Evanston to Bloomington, which is only 240 miles or a 4-hour, 10-minute car ride. Northwestern and Illinois are in the same state, but they're actually closer to their cross-state counterparts. They're 2 hours and 34 minutes from Evanston to Champaign, and just 2 hours and 27 minutes from West Lafayette to Champaign. From West Lafayette to Chicago. So, to me, you're looking at a 4-hour car ride at least 3 times a year if you're playing all away games there.
That's
You don't
the
need
key.
to throw things.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Make it so that the fans within the divisions can travel by car. Yes,
Because
that
right now I
is
don't-
the key to me.
And
Yes.
if you're going to keep the Big Ten together, I think that's, I put air quotes up for those not watching on the stream.
But a lot of these Big Ten, they don't play games at night.
But, and there's so much made about Lincoln to Piscataway or LA to Piscataway that, okay, if you do that once every 6 years, probably not a big deal.
Right, not a huge deal, right.
Group 4 is where it gets fun, though, because this is Michigan, Michigan State, Ohio State, Notre Dame. We've seen the Big Ten try to take away the Michigan-Ohio State game to some degree when they did Leaders and Legends, right? And obviously, they hated that, so that's not happening again. But if you throw Notre Dame into that mix, yeah, it's the 4 biggest brands right now, or the 3 biggest brands plus Notre Dame. But it's also 2 of Notre Dame's biggest rivals. Oh, and by the way, you get Notre Dame, Ohio State every single year.
Notre Dame, in Notre Dame's pod, I have Notre Dame, Michigan, same thing, Michigan State, Ohio State. Notre Dame has history with all 3 of them schools.
More Michigan, Michigan State.
True,
yeah.
True, but you can find.
Yeah, no, I agree.
You dig hard enough, you know what I mean? You can find some Notre Dame, Ohio State, footage. It blows my mind.
Well, and on top, that doesn't happen more often? Notre Dame, Ohio State doesn't happen more often? Is that what you're going to say?
I would love for it to happen more often.
I'm going to double down on that, because the craziest part is it would be the furthest trip in this group. It's only 251 miles. It's less than a 4-hour car ride.
Yeah.
And just for anybody that hasn't been up to East Lansing or Ann Arbor, it's a 47-minute car ride. They're less than an hour away from each other. So
they're a rock.
That group would be the most fun. But regionally and distance-wise, it makes the most sense as well. And then Group 5 is where it gets a little bit interesting because you do add Boston College into the mix. But it makes sense with the teams that would be in this group, with Penn State, Rutgers, Maryland, and then you add Boston College.
Same thing I have. Yeah.
Perfect. Okay. It's a 6-hour, 56-minute drive or a 433.4-mile drive from State College to Chestnut, Massachusetts, where Boston College is. It's just on the other side of Boston. And then 6 hours and 59 minutes from Boston College to Maryland. 4 hours and 6 minutes from Boston College to Rutgers. I really think there would be a market that remembers the Tuesday games and that 2007 season specifically, where you got Rutgers versus Boston College.
Yeah.
It's one of those things. If you're going to have this West Coast tingency and this East Coast tingency, and in the middle of the Big Ten, you have to make it make sense. And if it's a matter of you can absolutely get Penn State versus USC, but you're only going to see it twice in 6 years, it's not out of the that's nothing different than the way college football is right now, where you can schedule a home and home with somebody in the Pac-12 anyway.
Yeah.
And it keeps college football the same, but makes it new and exciting at the same time.
Yeah, I agree. And like you said, right? College sports are about rivalry.
Yeah, more than anything. You can't lose that.
That is the lifeblood of bragging rights and why people get so invested in college sports.
You hear we more than us when it's referred to college sports versus pro sports, and that's why, because you do have the rivalry with your neighbor.
And you have a lot. It's college sports where you hear people say, "Yeah, take their names off the back of the jerseys. We don't care."
Right.
It doesn't matter.
There's certain schools that's their policy.
That's their policy.
Penn State.
So, it is most important. I loved all of the pods you created. I was pretty much, maybe there was an exception of 1 or 2 teams, but once again, it's just a matter
strings,
of it's just a matter
going
of
left
how
to right
many
versus
miles.
top to bottom. Right.
Well, the hardest one for me is Purdue and Indiana, Bloomington.
Yeah.
West Lafayette, Bloomington. I think West Lafayette is Western Indiana, or close to the west, and then Bloomington is close to the east of the border of Indiana. So
you basically split
it down the middle. Yeah, I mean, so. But yeah, no, you have to keep the fans, like you said, interested. Make it that close regionality, proximity. So that it comes off as like a real rivalry every week in your own division.
And the cool thing with the 20 system pods, and I think it's going to be more than this, but I think we get to this before we get the finality of it.
Right.
Is you leave 3 games in conference, 3 games in your pod, 4 games in another pod, a crossover with the SEC, and then you can still have the non-conference in the way that we still know it today. And you change college football completely but at its essence, you keep it exactly the same.
Pretty much. I mean, you're and when it is going towards more of a pro model. And by necessity, you kind of have to do that.
It's very weird that they want to completely mirror the most successful pro organization.
Why would you want to do that?
In this country, yeah.
But no, I let me ask you. The one concern I have is that pod with all the legendary schools, Notre Dame, Michigan, Michigan State, Ohio State. It would only make sense to do that, like we said, because of proximity and regional pairing. Do you really believe that they would allow one division to have all four of those teams?
Here's why that's not their problem.
Okay.
Be better. It's not our fault we're better than
True.
you.
I agree.
And if it's, well, we really want the Ohio State contingency to come to our campus, you get them. You get them once every 3 years.
Right.
Which in some cases,
You'll get them, yeah.
Which is in some cases, it's more often than it happens right now. Anyway,
That's true.
So, hey, we're gonna go to the phone calls. Phone calls open today, 402-951-1620. We go to random Mike. Mike, good morning. How are you?
Hey, did you guys happen to hear Brendan yesterday? The sports great thing. What do you got to say?
I was reading through it, but I'm not sure exactly what you're referencing.
Oh, really? Well, what did you read?
Are you talking about the? Are you referring to the conference expansion stuff, or are you talking about the stadiums?
What Brendan Stein, what he had to say about, well, it was first of all about Noelle, the player that got suspended for the year.
Nerlens Noelle, yeah. I did not see that.
Yeah, I was pretty interested. Do you know why he got suspended for a year?
I believe you failed a drug test.
Yeah, has that ever happened before? A Nebraska player being suspended for a year?
A whole year? I don't know about a whole year.
Yeah. Well, he said that he talked to the kid and he said, what did you do? You knucklehead? And Noelle, is that his name, Noelle?
Yeah, Nerlens Noelle. Yeah.
And he was talking about the O-line, and how important the O-line is, and that we lost our two best players. Won the second round, and Noelle, and he, what'd you do, you knucklehead? And he said, Coach Stein, I didn't do anything. I just had a high testosterone. I didn't do anything. And he said, and Stein said he believed the kid, that he's a great kid, and he believed him. And if he didn't do anything, it was just because he happened to have high testosterone. And apparently, that was it.
Yeah, it got registered as a performance enhancement, I believe. I didn't want to speak out of turn there because I think when some people heard failed drug test, they assumed it was like street drugs, not PEDs. But
I assumed it was PED, but if it was just a high level, I don't know if you guys have ever had your test. Look at my own case. I'm an older guy and I'm taking some medication. My testosterone is extremely high, but I'm not taking any illegal.
Yeah, but it could also, along with the high testosterone, you got creatine levels, there are protein levels, there's other stuff in the blood work that they check as well, in the UAs that go along with those numbers that also lead them to the assumption.
But Stein said that you know much about him. He's a really smart guy.
Oh, definitely.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
PhD, isn't he?
And high.
Or that's Zatica. That's Dr. Zatica.
Yeah. High football IQ also.
Yeah.
Yeah, and played at the highest level. He was one of our all-time great linemen, right? And played at the highest level.
Yeah.
I'm not here to accuse anyone of anything, but I find it very hard to believe that they make that accusation without multiple tests.
Solid, yeah.
Me too. I was just wondering if it's, some people just, if there is an innocent explanation, and Stein apparently really thinks so, you wonder about the appeal process, and particularly when you have the toughest penalty ever. So that's one thing I was wondering about.
I was really surprised it was a year, Mike. I think that's what you're getting at here, and I'm with you. I mean, I don't know how you don't get through fall camp and maybe retest him.
Yeah, particularly the facts of that particular situation. But the other thing was, there was a spring game. I don't know if you guys listened during the spring football game to the radio broadcast. Well, Stein, it was a few years ago, and it might have been Martinez's freshman year. But Sty was, I guess Matt Davidson wasn't available. And Sty did the broadcast, with Greg Sharp.
Right.
You remember that?
Yeah, I think one of Matt's family members were getting married, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, I remember that.
Yeah, and I thought Sty, as the analyst, was better than anybody I'd ever heard in terms of telling you exactly what was going on that made the play successful or unsuccessful. And I know part of it was being an old lineman. He could say exactly why the blocking scheme or who missed the block or made a great block in real-time situation. I just thought he was the best I'd ever heard. I just wondered if you guys remember that or yeah.
I only got to catch a little bit of that game on the radio because I was actually in the stadium doing some work for a different company. But no, I agree. I think he breaks down football really well. Mike, we appreciate the phone call, buddy. Have a good day.
Thanks, Mike.
We're going to go to Frank. Frank wants to talk about Ohio. Is this Frank in Ohio? Is this Frank Solich? Are you on the line with us this morning?
Well, I'm going to go ahead and start off by saying what's up by quoting one of the greatest pro wrestlers of all time. Hello, ladies.
Morning, Chuck. How are you?
Hey, guys. So, first of all, I want to talk about how you guys were just talking about the lineman that got suspended for a year.
Yes.
Nebraska needs more of those. Back when we were winning championships, we had guys jumping off balconies and
going to the dark stuff.
I had to call in and give Jimmy some crap this morning. I was expecting Sauter to be here too. I wanted to give him some crap, so I'm calling in to troll, guys. I really appreciate what you guys do.
Thanks, Chuck.
He's still going to be here. Your counterpart is in the later hours this morning at 8:30. So
well, make sure you call him soft for me.
We're gonna ask him how much he's reconsidered having a new co-host on the wrestling show.
It's very possible.
Hey, buddy, have a good day. We appreciate the phone
Chuck.
call. I got to give him credit for Frank in Ohio. That's I had no idea that's who that was.
It's Frank Solich?
Yeah. Hey, listen, I want to call in and talk about Nebraska firing me and how I thought it was wrong. That's the phone call we need.
For starters.
Bo Pelini has done Bustle with the Boys and a bunch of podcasts post his career. I mean, obviously, he didn't have the hottest takes on the athletic director of Nebraska while he's here anyway. That's what I want. And Frank will never do it, but Frank, tell us how you really feel about Steve Peters. That's what Nebraska fans need in their lives.
Could there be a book in this future?
10 years ago, maybe. Yeah. But I don't know, he's such a class act. I highly doubt that happens. I mean, it's also not like he went somewhere and fell on his face. Kind of like Bo did going back to LSU, and he just went to Ohio and they built a statue of him. No big deal. So I mean, when that happens, you kind of get to just ride off on your horse into the sunset. When you go to LSU and it's more embarrassing than you were there the first time, you just kind of get egg on your face.
Yeah. I applaud Frank though for not feeling like he had to go to like a Power 5 conference or a Power 5 team.
Because he probably got offers after he got Ohio.
Yeah, it may not have been the most glamorous of Power 5 schools, but he probably had offers. And he's like, no, I'm going to turn the Ohio Bobcats into the winningest MAC. They have a MAC? Yeah. Well, not winningest MAC team, but,
for a couple of years.
For a couple of years they were.
I think you could call him the bar. I think he set the bar.
He did. Winningest coach in Ohio University history.
Yes.
Got a statue outside the stadium already.
Right.
Hats off to you, Frank.
And even how things ended, would still come back and do visuals on the video board and congratulate him on the
Always part of the family.
300 sellout. Got a tremendous reaction at that game, by the way.
Yeah.
When I heard he was retiring from Ohio, and granted, Frank's not a spring chicken, but I really thought there was hey, how do we get you back into the front office at this university kind of discussion? And maybe it did happen.
As an advisor.
I don't, but Trev has the utmost respect for Frank, and I thought that might be somebody he reached out to with, hey, I'm taking this bigger job. I know there's a lot of people in this state and in this city that thought maybe that job was too big for Trev Alberts, which is mind-blowing to me. And because if you just drive, but
transform the university.
If you just drive by 63rd and Center right now, and
that is Trev's work.
And you still have that mindset. I don't know what you're paying attention to. You can say whatever you want about him cutting programs, and maybe it was the wrong thing to do at that time, but it worked out for the university.
Bigger picture.
And his ability to raise money, which is, I think, never mind the fact that I think he's fantastic at the job.
Right.
But his ability to raise money is a lot of the reason he got that job, because of the projects that are going around that stadium. And he was absolutely, and I know they probably got down the list on the guys they quote-unquote wanted. I think it's going to probably be 5-6 years down the road before we realize how lucky we are that he fell into the lap at the university.
Absolutely.
He was never turning the job down. That was never going to happen. But I think when you're talking about what this university, not even just the football program, but the university as a whole needed in an athletic director, I don't know if they could have gotten anything better.
No, he was the right person at the right time for UNO and UNL.
Yeah, I mean,
thank God.
In Trev we trust, folks. I want to get back to the pods and stuff when we come back, because we got into a lot of stuff we could have unpacked there. It's 7:25 on a Friday morning on Sharpen the Betting in the morning. Jimmy Allen in for Gary, Rob Love in for Damon. We're going to break down more pods, more Big Ten stuff when we come back here on 1620 The Zone.
Hey, Kev. The client needs that document ASAP.
Trying with the internet is so slow, and now it isn't real. On 1620 The Zone, 1620thezone.com, and the 1620 The Zone app. Here's Jimmy Allen and Rob Love.
Come on, D's. D's nuts. Boom explosion. Overpowering. That was my jam. That's one of the best songs to have in your rotation when you're working out. I don't care how tired you are. You're about to knock out 20 push-ups right now, aren't you?
I was going to let you go. Hey, welcome on.
Man, LL. Shouts out to you.
You're about to witness the power of street knowledge, folks.
Yes.
Jimmy Allen, in for Gary Sharp, Rob Love, dropping the mic, and in for David Betting this morning. It's a dance party on YouTube. Make sure you check us out on the stream. Welcome, Ben. Second hour Sharp and Betting in the morning. Chance Oliver playing nothing but the hits. Nothing but the hits. We're talking more football, folks. It is football season. Let's get into it. We're going to take a look into the future. We're going to do an experiment here. USC and UCLA have obviously joined the Big Ten. We're going to bring in a couple more teams, hypothetically as well, because obviously conference realignment isn't going anywhere, and probably not even close to being done. For experimental sakes, we're going to add Washington and Oregon, because obviously there was a discussion that they asked to join the Big Ten. Said, whoa. The next lifeboat will be back in a minute. let us send one to South Bend, Indiana. And for experimental purposes, we're also going to add Notre Dame and Boston College to the equation to get the Big Ten to 20 teams. And if they were to split those up into pods, what does that look like? So essentially, we're going to take the Big Ten and make it the AFC. We're going to break it down into 14 pods and call that what now is referred to as a division. Instead of having 8 to 10 teams, they're going to have 4. Did you name your divisions?
A, B, C, and D.
Okay, because I was going to name them geographically, and then I couldn't really think of what to call whatever would be in the middle.
You said we are adding Notre Dame and Boston College?
Yes.
Okay.
Sorry, because I originally said Stanford, and then I realized that would unbalance.
That would give us
West Coast.
16 teams?
Well, it's 20. Because there's 16 with USC and UCLA, and then you add Washington, Oregon, Boston College, Notre Dame. Sorry, I know I changed it up. Did I screw you up?
You're good.
Okay. I did do it geographically. I just named them groups 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5.
Yeah.
I'm going to start this off. Group 1, I just put all the teams on the West Coast. I did Oregon, Washington, USC, and UCLA. Because obviously I think that makes the most sense, right? And then I don't think I realized how far away LA is from Pullman, Washington. It's 1,112.9 miles.
Sharp and Betting in the morning on 1620 The Zone, 1620thezone.com, and the 1620 The Zone app.
All over the world. Here at Sharp and Betting in the morning.
I have never seen someone with a red beard but black hair on his head. Am I tripping, or is that what I'm looking at right
Usually
now?
it's blonde dudes who get a ginger beard.
That is not even remotely true. What blonde dude do you know with a ginger beard?
You?
Like 7. Really?
Yeah.
With blonde hair and a red beard.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I've ever seen that. Connor's hair's dark. I guess you haven't seen him without a hat. You haven't seen him without a hat on.
He had a hat on last, but I
did know a guy with
dark hair and ginger beard too.
I don't think I know one person with blonde hair and red beard. Did you say me? I have clear hair. My hair's clear now.
Clear?
Yeah. I'm gonna get back. Let's get back to the pod thing in a minute.
Yeah.
But
Going down the ginger beard road.
yeah, not even that. I kind of want to get up on my soapbox.
We are going to Ireland. What? Sorry.
I got a bone to pick. You
Pick it,
You really grinded my gears yesterday.
Get a new clutch.
I respect your sports opinion. I consider you a very sports knowledgeable person.
I'm okay.
I feel the same way about Connor Happer. It blows my mind that somebody that considers themselves a true sports fan can wear gear for another team that they don't root for. I get it.
I'm a sports fan.
I get it, but I think it's a lifestyle, right? It's a collector's lifestyle.
It is.
It's more that than
Hoarder. Some people would say hoarder. That's fine. I'm okay with that. I walk the line.
So, Connor's wearing a Padres. To give insight to this, Connor was wearing a Padres hat yesterday, but he's obviously a Royals fan.
Okay.
You're an Atlanta Braves fan.
I am. And I'm a Royals fan.
I think everybody in Omaha is something.
Kind of, sort of got a little Royal in them. Yeah. Okay.
I also think that's weird too, because I don't like actively root for anybody that's not the Yankees.
We're all kind of Chiefs fans, whether we like to admit it or not. Yes, we are. We're down the road. Well, at least they are for me. I grew up. They were the first team I liked.
I want you to remember that there's Broncos fans at home.
There's Green Bay and there's Bears.
I'm aware of that, but I just don't think that there's a Broncos fan that's going, because I'm from Omaha, they're down the road. That Patty Mahomes guy's okay.
There's going to be somebody in the parking lot waiting.
Yeah.
What'd you say?
Dark blue and crushed orange Jeep or something.
With a Russell Wilson Broncos jersey on.
That he bought yesterday. I can't, to me, I could probably pinpoint at one point in time that a team has maybe it's not a rivalry, but lost a key game in a playoff race or a playoff game for that matter. And I know that the Padres are an NL team and the Royals are an AL team, but I don't know. It's to the point where you've lost enough meaningful games to teams that I just couldn't wear that shirt or hat or jersey. Well, I don't wear jerseys anyway. We've had that conversation. But
are you saying because of how bad the team has been?
No. I'm going to stand up for a second. I'm saying because if you're a fan of a team,
okay,
there's been a moment where another team has hurt your feelings or given you reasons not to like them.
Absolutely.
But then you turn around and buy their shirt because it looks cool.
For instance, when I do wear a Yankees hat, right?
Well, that's because you think you're Jay-Z. That's me.
Yeah. That's another part. I do not think I'm Jay-Z.
Let me reintroduce myself. My name is Pose.
Okay.
I broke Rob Love.
Okay. So here's yes, I hear you. There is that. There can be that perspective. I am a fan of. I respect legendary brands.
Okay. All right. So I think there's a difference,
and I will wear and I respect players. Right?
Okay.
I can't stand the St. Louis Cardinals, but if I can find a Bob Gibson, Mitchell and Ness throwback jersey, I'll wear it every day.
But are you wearing a Yadier Molina jersey?
I would. I respect Yachty.
All right, we're gonna go to the phones. Tyler, welcome in. Tell us what you represent Raider Nation proudly for us.
Hey, yeah, we know. We got this conference going on right now. Pleasure to be on the phone with you guys.
Thanks for calling in,
buddy. When we got all these bandwagon Chiefs fans, they got good, and now all of a sudden everyone in freaking Omaha is a Chiefs fan. That's just come on, guys. We cannot all be a little. I respect the Royals, though. That we got the team up here, Storm Chasers. Definitely baseball is just that thing. But when we're a football state here, and I feel like you got to represent one and only on your football. Like there's no way in heck I'm gonna go over to my parents' house and be like, yeah, go Chiefs. No, they're giving me heck every single day that I got Raiders gear on, and you know what? I respect it. I respect the hate.
Tyler, what would have to happen in your life to wear a Patrick Mahomes jersey? Is there anything that can make you do that?
Man, a very tragic event. Like, there is no way.
We're talking death and nothing else, right?
On. I got a 17 jersey I'll put on.
Hey,
no.
What are expectations for Davante Adams in your mind?
Expectations, as far as the whole offensive line, having Darren Waller, having a great slot receiver, honestly, I see him getting at least 15 TDs this year.
Nice.
I'm more concerned about Josh Jacobs. Like,
seems like he wants out, right?
The team.
Yeah, is that weird? Like, it feels like at this point, like, what? At this is the point where, as a Raider, that you want out. Doesn't it feel like you should be buying stock right now, not selling it?
Like, it is, honestly, I think it's a sell stock. If you got to sell on him, because, I mean, if you're making all these big moves, you're paying the man Adams to go get those TDs. You're not signing his extension. If he either shows up and gets 20 on, rushing TDs, then yeah, definitely give him his money. But if you can go and get out if you can go out, you can get someone that's going to get you to the next level and beat the Chiefs, then yeah, unfortunately, I mean, it's a rotational, I feel like, position at this point. And if you can go get someone who's going to take it to the next level and actually be able to, potentially win this hard conference, then I'd say the hardest conference in the freaking league.
Oh, without a doubt.
You gotta do what you gotta do at the end of the day.
Tyler, is this just another case of a running back being delusional and not realizing not realizing that the NFL has devalued the running back position in today's game?
That ain't Josh Jacobs' fault, though.
I think the devaluation of the position has come from all these. I mean, you can get that third-round guy. You can get someone out of the blue who shows up and just gives you a phenomenal season. I feel like the production level of the running back over the span of the last 10 years, you're only. The mileage is just, I feel like, catching up too quick on these guys. And as far as touches and injuries are concerned, one bang up and you just don't see the same running back. I mean, not everyone's freaking Derrick Henry out there who's just a truck.
Well, and is he going to be this season? You just touched on that. The injury that for the first time last year, is he going to come back and look like the King Henry we're accustomed to? Tyler, we appreciate the phone call. Thanks, man.
Thanks,
Enjoy the football season.
Excellent call.
Yeah, love you guys. Take it easy.
Thanks, man. The AFC West is an interesting conversation, and there's so much being talked about with the addition of Davante Adams and Tyreek Hill being gone, and Russell Wilson getting added to the Denver Broncos. But the Los Angeles Chargers have the third best odds to win the AFC out of those four teams, and I wonder how much of that is because of the addition of Khalil Mack and Joey Bosa coming back healthy. Because, you can add all the offensive weapons you want, but if everybody is close to even on the offensive side of the ball, how much are the difference makers on defense equating to wins and losses? And if those two can stay healthy, it might be a long day for Derek Carr, Patrick Mahomes, and Russell Wilson.
How do they keep Bosa healthy?
Both of them. It's like something with that family. They just can't stay on the field.
Yeah.
And
I thought you meant Mac and Bosa.
Yeah,
Mac. I honestly, while he was hurt a little bit in Chicago, just a little, I wonder how much of that was like,
we ain't making the playoffs.
Right. You know what I mean?
It's cold.
If I don't say giving up, but if, losing interest was an injury. I agree.
His hair hurt that day.
I will definitely keep my eye on the Bolts this year. I dig Justin Herbert. I like his style. Yeah, Bosa, Mack, the free safety. Is it Wendell?
For the Chargers?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God. He's big for playing Madden, and I cannot remember his name. But anyway, they're going to be.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of Derwin James.
Derwin James.
Yeah,
Thank
okay.
you.
I was like, Wendell.
Wendell.
Yeah, I was.
Mr. Wendell, yeah. San Diego is going to be a tough out.
Even LA.
Or, yeah.
I
cannot believe I still
go
back to San Diego. How about that?
I still call the Raiders open.
Go back to San Diego.
I'm with you. We got derailed there on pro football talk.
Just a little.
Rob Love wears teams that he doesn't root for his jerseys, and it's weird. But we're going to talk more about the pod system we came up with. Is it better for the Big Ten? Is it better for the teams coming over from the Pac-12? All of that and more. Sharp and Benny in the morning. 7:41 on a Friday. Rob in for Damon, Jimmy in for Gary. Chance Oliver taking your phone calls, telling us you can't wait for the guys to be back and more here on 1620 Zone.
Progressive
knows that most people don't get to experience making a game on a touchdown on the whole line, so.
Finally made it. You don't got to be here tomorrow for anything, do you, Chancey? No. Okay.
I'm out of here. And now see me.
Oh yeah, I guess I did the answer to that, didn't I? Sorry about that.
It's okay. You're just starting conversation.
What we dabble in gambling. What's the weirdest thing you've ever bet on?
Chihuahua races.
What? Where was this taking part
It
in?
wasn't an official bet, but it was at Bears.
Back alley.
I bet one of my own.
Was there also a dice game going on?
Does Michael Vick know about this?
Oh, dice races, Chance. Races, not
It's not racist. It's just him.
races, not fights.
Not fights.
Oh, okay.
Chihuahuas to the death.
Well, no. I mean, it's a different kind of sport.
Let's be honest. It's probably happened somewhere.
That would be hilarious.
No.
Okay, I'm sorry.
No, we're not going down that road.
Oh my God! I was kidding. Oh, I know it's context over the radio, but the idea of Chihuahuas.
You're doubling down on it?
No, I'm not.
Okay.
I won't. But I was kidding, PETA and whoever else. I love dogs. Relax.
I really feel like that was that Clinton Portis moment where they're like, when he got off the plane, the reporter asked him, was like, how do you feel about the Michael Vick dogfighting scandal? And he's like, oh man, I can take you to a backwood Mississippi right now and find a dogfighting ring. I grew up on it. And the reporter goes, you know it's a felony, right? He goes, man, I've never been to a dogfighting ring in my life. It's great. Look it up on YouTube. The reason I asked is because there are betting odds out on Kim Kardashian's next boyfriend, Donald Trump, plus 20,000. Might be worth put $10. It's out on.
Who has the best odds?
I just refreshed the page and it went away. I apologize. I believe her and Pete Davidson getting back together was the odds-on favorite.
Is it another SNL star?
I'm trying to get back to it. I can't find it.
She'd just be single.
Can people stop proposing to her after Matt Damon and J-Lo get divorced? Stop proposing to her also. Chance, where do you think your odds rank? You gonna shoot your shot, slide into Kim K's DMs? Van Jones is the odds-on favorite at plus 800.
The receiver?
I guess I could throw my name in the hat, but I've always said how much I would like.
No, it's the guy from CNN, not the receiver. Actually.
Oh, okay.
I thought it was the former Buck.
She has a very wide range of.
I would love to be someone's sugar baby, but
I'll tell you.
Have they been seen together or anything like that?
Cash rules everything. I don't know. I don't. I've watched 4 minutes of Keeping Up with Kardashian. That was enough for me.
I just feel like it'd be miserable.
Too much plastic surgery.
I just thought it was hilarious that Donald Trump would be anywhere near that list. It would be. It obviously would be. Like, I don't understand why people keep doing it. They ruin every man they've ever dated.
Well, him and Kanye.
But hey, listen,
Him and Kanye are buds. So
No
Kanye was already off the rocker before he.
Well, like Kanye went full on Davidson smear campaign when he was dating Kim K. Now he's like, what if? Because they were allies. So would that break them up, like the Kanye and Trump train?
I don't know. How much is the check Donald's cutting still. That's probably
I don't
got
know.
more to do with it than anything.
Maybe they're in cahoots. It's the going rate. Donald's gonna chase Kim back to Kanye
Why did I open this can of worms?
because it's fun.
It is. It is. So I'm
You know
trying
you can't mention that man's name.
back to stupidest things we've ever bet on.
I bet on a turtle race once.
Friend of the show, David Esau. We had a $5 bet. We were at a bar in Lincoln before a Nebraska game, and we were betting on the drips of condensation running. We bought one of those beer towers, drips of condensation running down the side. I think that's the dumbest thing I've ever bet on. We were I think it was actually our second beer tower at that point too.
It's like Michael Jordan level better.
You just couldn't even
pitch
bet for
quarters.
Wawa
You
races.
pitch quarters waiting on a plane.
Is it bad that when I watched that in the last dance, I was like, that actually looks like a ton of fun? There's that ring toss game where it's like at bars with the pegs on it.
Yeah.
That's plenty of shots have been bet on that out at Sandbar.
That's different.
Yeah. Is it? Money versus shots? They still cost the sale. Listen,
There's libations on the line.
we were talking before we went to break about pods in the Big Ten. We'll stick to sports. People are going. Twitter's not friendly.
I'm gonna go check your mentions.
Yeah, we were talking about breaking the Big Ten as we know it now and adding Notre Dame, Boston College, Washington, and Oregon to the group, and what it means for location, what it means for travel opportunity, and what it means for the fan base. As somebody that's a fan of Nebraska, if we're talking those four schools being added in Washington, Oregon, Notre Dame, and Boston College, of those four, is Notre Dame the ideal destination, or would you rather go to one of those other three schools?
Of Notre Dame, Boston College, and
Washington, and Oregon.
And Oregon. I would like Washington and Oregon.
Have you ever been to the Pacific Northwest?
No. I have family up that way, but I've never visited in Seattle. But hallowed ground is South Bend, Indiana.
Agreed. But I think as a fan base that travels as well as the Nebraska contingency does, the lure of USC and UCLA is such a big deal because there's that group of fans probably in the last 6 years that have been so irritated at the fact that they can't travel for a bowl game, because a lot of people used to build their family travel plans around that instead of traveling for the holidays, they would just go wherever Nebraska was playing in the bowl game. And looking at that opportunity to maybe get out to LA in October or November when it's colder out.
Yeah.
But
we're always looking to get better weather.
I wonder how much, if teams in the Pacific Northwest were added to the Big Ten, how much of a destination that would be for people, because it's not LA. It's not going to be nice and warm in October. It's not going to be Minneapolis level of cold.
Right.
But
it snows in Seattle, but Oregon, they don't get a lot of snow.
Right. It's relatively warm, but I mean, you also got to be sitting in cold rain if it rains while you're there too. Because there have been some games up in Eugene where I've seen the crowd just been like, that looks awful. But at the same time, the forest and everything up there in the fog is absolutely gorgeous. So I think it'd be interesting to see where the fan base is the most interested. Once all the dust settles and the chips fall where they may, because listen, I mean, there might be a possibility that an ACC school, we talked about Boston College. I think Pitt's really interesting as well. I mean, the Pitt versus Penn State thing,
the Big Ten model
kind of comes in. I threw Boston College into the equation because I think that's more of an attraction to Notre Dame.
And they're slightly a basketball school as well.
I think they're going to be a pretty decent football team this year too.
Not bad.
I took the over on I think it's 5.5 in Boston College.
You still got that running back? I forget his name.
This is the second time you've done this to me.
I
have no idea who
I'm
you're talking.
sorry.
Yes, I mean they have a running back.
Aren't you the aficionado of Boston College Eagle?
They have a running back. I mean, to answer your question,
well, I know
yes,
the running back they had last year was really good, and I'll look him up. It's all good.
But to me, that's been the most interesting part of conference realignment to me is how do the fan bases interact, what rivalries become built off it, and where can I travel to? And I think that's how a lot of people are looking at this, and those four schools in particular bring a lot of history with them and a lot of travel plans. Hey, we're wrapping up the second hour of Sharp Betting in the morning. We're coming back. They're starting to change roughing the passer in the NFL. Is it a good thing? Do we like it? We talk about it here on Sharp Betting in the Morning. Jimmy in for Gary, Rob in for Damon, Chance Oliver yawning, 8 o'clock on a Friday morning.
There you are in the great wide open. On 1620 The Zone, 1620thezone.com, and the 1620 The Zone app. Here's Jimmy Allen and Rob Love.
1-1. And Bregman rockets one deep down the left field line. Ball is looking. If it stays fair, it's gone. And it's a fair ball and a 2-run home run for Alex Bregman. 5-0 Astros. Bregman goes deep for the 14th time this year.
I was blinded by the penis.
Chance, I meant could you play it in context, not just randomly play.
I said I made it into a drop.
And I said, can you play it when we come back? I didn't mean like at the top. I meant like in context. We're gonna bring something up. I didn't. Just want people that are tuning in to Sharp Betting for the first time today.
What can you possibly bring up in context for that to be played?
See, here's the thing. I'm really good at this job.
In a room full of men.
I think it's more topical in a room full of men than anything else, right?
True. Yes.
Let me ask you something.
I do not deny
Are you
that.
just like on a mission to offend everybody today?
No, it's completely unintentional.
I was trying to find the meme of Chris Rock in The Longest Yard just pointing at Adam Sandler, like moving out of the picture. So that's how I feel right now. Rob Love offending the world today. Jimmy Allen in for Gary Sharp.
I love Chihuahuas.
Avid Chihuahua hater Rob Love in for Damon Benz.
Love all animals.
Have you ever been blinded by the penis?
I'll tell you something. If another one of those comes out in any room that I'm in, I'm exiting.
Okay,
immediately.
I've never been to a bathroom.
I go in the stall every time.
Really? Is that a thing?
I'm one of those people.
Okay. I don't think that's unique to you.
No, it's not. But I just don't even like it. I don't know. It's just the mental of another man. I don't know. Maybe it's insecurity.
Go ahead.
I'm just saying. I'm already married.
The things we thought we weren't going to talk about.
I don't have to impress anybody anymore. Sorry.
What? Do you guys even need me for this? Should I just walk out now? It is halftime on Sharp and Betting.
Yeah.
We're halfway through it on a Friday.
We are halfway through it. More ways than one.
Happy Friday. Everybody, the work week is coming to an end. And another thing that's coming to an end seems like the harshness of quarterbacks getting roughing the passer calls against them in the NFL. Last year, a record high, 149 calls for roughing the passer in the NFL during the regular season. They're taking more of the NBA approach to it, where they're looking at if it's a flagrant, if it's intentional, if it's violent, because in the last 3 years we've seen it. If your fingernail scrapes the helmet of a quarterback, it's automatically a foul, and they're gonna reach back on that, and it's going to have to be a violent hit to the head or a malicious attack with obviously intent to hurt somebody. They're also going to reevaluate falling at a quarterback's feet. There's certain times where defensive linemen are just naturally being knocked down, and flags are getting thrown because they got blocked properly. Not only did you get beat on the play, but now you just cost your team 50 yards by falling in the most inconvenient spot on the field. And I like this approach. I like that they took an attempt to try to protect the quarterback, because what this has done is it has caused defensive coordinators and coaches to get their players up to speed on not being violent towards the quarterback in a way that's going to hurt them. And that training has been implemented. So I think it's the right time to dial it back, because all of that stuff has been taught at this point. And that's kind of, I think, what needed to happen is we needed to retrain defenders on making sure they're not tearing ACLs. And listen, things happen by accident, but if you're violently taking a shot with your helmet at somebody's knee, there's a problem. And we talked a little bit yesterday about Antonio Brown and Vontaze Burfict and players that have, and we talked about Richie Incognito last week, and players that have kind of gone out of their way to be a little over the top violently. But I hated when I first heard about the rules that were being put into place to protect the quarterback, because it is a contact sport. But ultimately, I think it was the right thing, because it changes the way guys are trained. And I think a lot of the reasons people had a problem with it at the beginning is guys have been trained for so long. Pin your ears back, go get the quarterback. If you take him out of the game, you take him out of the game.
Yeah.
And that approach has had to be changed, and I think we look at it differently now because there's been proper training put in place. And the NFL as a whole may have felt that's the only way that we feel like we can change the mentality of how quarterbacks are attacked. Because listen, maybe other than punter, it's the most vulnerable spot in sports. You're standing back there and you're forced to look downfield and throw the football no matter who's in your face. And a lot of times, we saw quarterbacks take shots on the chin from the crown of a helmet. We've seen quarterbacks get folded in half, one high, one low, and things like that needed to go away, in my opinion.
Agreed. I always felt that on the instant replay, in the instant replay office back in New York, when they have to go to, instant replay for any of those types of calls, I always felt like they needed to have someone who's played the game before for that position. Because
hold on, let me ask you.
Okay, all right.
What do you reference? The defensive player or the quarterback?
Well, I'm talking about the quarterback. The quarterback rules.
No. Which player played which position? I'm sorry. I'm trying.
Just played football in general.
Okay, got it.
Because the rules have always been in place.
Right.
For this. It was called spearing. It was it was under various names.
Unnecessary roughness.
Unnecessary roughness. It's the spirit of the rule that I feel like some of these referees, God bless them, for whatever reason, and I understand on the field it's bang, 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 bang.
Sure.
You're not going to see everything with your own eyes.
Well, and I think referees have been unfairly criticized because it's not like they're out there and being offended by the hit. They're being told, hey, if
err on the side of caution.
If anything happens, we're trying to protect these guys, make sure that we'd rather you throw the flag more often than not, and obviously they saw that it's becoming a detriment to the game, and they're fixing it.
And I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
I would rather them err on the side of caution. The problem I have is when it goes up to the booth, and they still don't get the spirit of the rule that they've just called correct.
Or have the ability to overturn it in some situations.
If it's clear that the defensive player had no malicious intent to roll into the quarterback's knee or whatever, a lower extremity, or like you said, if they just graze the quarterback's helmet,
which probably hurts the defender more than the quarterback.
You know what I mean? So I would stuff like that. Yes, you know what the spirit of the rule is. You know what malicious intent looks like, especially when it comes to something involving a quarterback.
And a game that you've probably seen a high level of violence up until that point anyway.
I also don't like, and I don't know if they, and you can correct me if they've addressed this within their changes, but let's say a rush edge comes off the end, has a clear shot, nobody touches him on his way to the quarterback, and he's in the target zone, right, from the chest to the belly button or whatever it is now, but he strikes with the face mask first.
This is where I would have put the drop in.
Okay.
You asked me how to work.
There you go. Perfect timing. You know what I'm saying? And then they would still somehow get charged, a flag thrown on them for forceful driving the quarterback to the ground.
And they're pulling back on that as well.
Thank God.
That's something because
that's football, folks. I don't know what else.
You can't change the trajectory of your body midair.
I'm sorry.
You can't. It's impossible.
Physics are real.
And now they said they're going to put an emphasis if you drive the quarterback to the ground, it looks like it's with malicious intent. That will draw a foul. But if it's, hey, you just fell on the guy, you can't help it. I mean, what are you supposed to do? Stop gravity? And I think that's where a lot of people were frustrated with it is, hey, if you get a clean shot on a guy, you get a clean shot on the guy. If you're not putting the crown of your helmet into his chin and you're not picking him up and spine bustering him into the ground and driving your shoulder into him.
Did it look like WWE?
Yeah.
Okay, then let's move on. Next play.
And I think in a game where we're almost taking all the human element out of it with replay and everything, that, okay, you are having an issue getting refs right now. I understand that. And maybe officiating hasn't been to the highest degree in the last couple of years. But help these guys get better by putting the game in their hands. Let them make. there's a reason you have the preseason. There's a reason that you make sure that you have X amount of years of experience before you get to the NFL. You get evaluated as a referee on a week-by-week basis. And listen, I'm not here to be a referee apologist, but trust the people you're putting in that position to make the right call.
Right.
And if it's, and now, granted, maybe it's not the right thing to do to correct them after the fact, but I don't know what other situation you could do it in. But I think the vast majority of people can look at something and tell if there's ill intent.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
And if you don't feel like a person can do that, maybe don't hire that ref.
And that's why I said, have anyone who's played, and they don't even necessarily have to have played on that level of football.
Agreed.
They've just been on a field and they've seen what actual spearing or leading with the helmet looks like when it's done with ill intent in mind of that player, right? Excuse me. There's been so many games where calls have been made, and I'm like, there's no way that like you said, say in the secondary when a receiver catches and they duck right before,
And there's a targeting call.
The rule should have been for that. If we see on a replay that you've ducked as the offensive player at all or changed your level between the catch and the contact with the other player, then there's no foul. It's impossible to call that play.
So I think the thought process behind that is we need to train guys to keep their eyes up. But they no. I'm agreeing with you. I'm saying that to say, but I don't think they took into the fact that some guys can't lift their head after they jump straight at somebody. It's almost with the helmet on. It's almost a physical impossibility.
Right.
And I think they pigeonholed them into that situation by the way they worded it. But that, again, back to the original part of this, is I think they did it with the best intent. My biggest gripe is, to me, you should have known it was an automatic issue when you see Ben Roethlisberger or Matt Ryan or the plethora of quarterbacks I've seen run over to a referee and point at their head. If you are cognizant enough to be able to run over and show somebody that you got touched, you probably weren't affected a whole lot by what happened.
Exactly. Thank you.
And again, a lot of this was derived from a situation that didn't need to happen. It was that preseason game with Joe Flacco against the Dolphins, where he slid and the guy took a shot at him.
Yeah.
You can't change the way your game operates because one person's an idiot. You have to be able to keep guys safe, but I mean that almost seemed the catalyst for it, where Joe Flacco got knocked loopy and his arms went stiff. Very scary moment, but there were rules in place that should have prevented that from happening, and you overreacted to that.
Yeah.
And I get it; it's a violent sport. You want to keep your stars healthy, but maybe take toll of what it's going to do to your game, because I think this is going to help. Probably not going to make it go away. Take away the we should just give them flags and put halos around them guy. But I mean, they're almost vindicated at some points where you can't. Up until these rule changes they're putting in place, it was almost impossible to get after the quarterback.
Yeah. But the quarterback is the crown jewel of any organization.
Yeah, and arguably the most difficult sport to play, or position to play in sports.
So I get it. It is the protection of assets for the league as well as the team individually.
See, I think there's something to that, but I honestly think there was somebody taking accountability for. We're literally asking these guys to be vulnerable 35 times a game with the biggest human beings in the world, trying to come crashing down on them. And
at what point is it not football?
Right. It's just a concentrated car crash.
Right.
So listen. I enjoy the physical aspect of football, and I think taking away the form tackling stuff was a bit of a detriment, but I get why they wanted people to protect their heads. With the stuff with CT that's going on,
absolutely,
it's completely understandable. But you cannot send a little league football practice anymore without the very first thing being, we have to teach you how to not use this helmet as a weapon. And it's a serious matter, but you also have to understand that these are the guys that are doing it at the highest level and have been doing so for a very long time. Do you have your one-offs where you got somebody that's just out there looking to hurt somebody? Sure you do.
Right.
But that is the vast minority versus the majority. I think I feel comfortable saying better than 90% of tackles you see on Sundays and to some degree on Saturdays are a safe act. As safe as that motion can be.
Exactly.
Even before this stuff got implemented. But yeah, you do have situations where you do have one-off guys that are out there lowering their head and using it as a battering ram. And my biggest gripe about the whole thing has been, yeah, you can stop the guys from doing it on defense, but you can't stop the guys from doing it on offense. Their whole motion is going forward.
Yeah.
And I think it's been fairly portrayed towards the defensive side of things. Maybe that was a concentrated effort to try to get more points, more yards. That's what drives the NFL and drives ratings. But it's just such a disadvantage for the defensive player because a guy can lower his head at you and run full speed at you. And all you're supposed to do is be able to basically fall backwards with him and hope he comes down with you.
Pretty much. Yeah.
And I'm going to be...
They let offensive guys face mask while stiff arming.
They've kind of retracted on that a little bit.
Yes, you're right.
If you grab, but I mean,
used to be out of control.
Essentially, a stiff arm is a face mask.
True.
I'm going to be. I just mentioned it. A record high number of roughing the passer calls in the NFL a year ago, 149. I'm going to be interested to see how much the sack numbers go up because I think they do. And I wonder how much of this is. You had your Jimmy Clausens, your Vince Youngs of the world that were the number one recruit in high school coming out as quarterbacks. A lot of that is pivoted to the defensive side of the ball. And I wonder how much of it is the league going, hey, listen, people are starting to be more invested in defense, and there's a lot of stars on that side of the ball also. I think that's always going to be a part of the discussion. The number one priority should be safety, but how does this benefit the league is probably 1A in that conversation. I'm excited to see what the sack numbers look like from this year versus next year when these rules go into place. And I'm excited to see how much, because there's no way the roughing the passer calls don't go down, right?
They should. I don't know. I think that the sport in general is so centered around offense because that's what people pay for tickets to see. As long as the ball moves down the field somehow, whether it's from a flag being thrown, it's positive movement towards a score of some sort. And not that referees are told, hey, throw the flag at any rate.
Make sure the stock goes up.
Not that that's happening, but there is an element for some reason in my mind that they do want to see that. For some reason, there's no other. I can't think of any other. Just like in the NBA, why they took hand checking away from the defense. Like, no, that's defense. I'm sorry.
I feel like you have a theory on that. Do you have a theory on that?
Let him hand check, man. This is, I'm from the 80s and 90s in the NBA, so
let's play with that to basketball.
Punch a guy back then.
Yeah,
it's just a regular foul. Shoot two and let's go.
It's a right check. Who do you think in the NBA right now would go from superstar to just another guy of hand checking?
I'm gonna break the internet with this one.
Let's go. You're already on fire today.
Steph Curry. There's no way he would get shots off from 25, 30 feet away.
Let me tell you why I think you're wrong.
Okay.
Because that was my knee-jerk reaction too, but I don't think Steph gets enough credit for how he finishes at the rim and how good he actually is off the dribble. I think he might be a guy that might actually benefit from that, be able to create more shots because guys will be closer up on him. There's not a whole lot of guys in the NBA that can defend him off the dribble.
Well, because the referees have taken away the physicality in the paint.
Okay, we're talking about hand checking, not being able to close line dudes.
But it all goes together to me. If you're guarding somebody and they're driving, you're man to man. He's driving to the paint. You're trailing him with a hand on his hip.
I'm going to foul you hard if you think you're going to go up for a free layup. I mean, you're going to hit the floor.
You can do that.
They don't allow that anymore. It happens.
They do. It just happens less. I think. I don't think that.
There would be Steph Curry rules, just like.
Do you think that's a direct result of not being able to hand check though, or do you think that's just a concentrated effort by the league?
Why did Allen Iverson hit the floor so much, going to the paint?
Maybe
and hardly ever got called.
But I think a lot of that is because even in Allen Iverson's time, there was still a lot of back to the basket centers. You don't really have that much anymore.
And let's flip it
at all.
Let's flip it around. How about Shaq? Shaq gets the ball in the paint, and the guy that's guarding him literally gets to do almost anything they wanted to him. And just because they said Shaq was way bigger than the guys. And so they started taking away, when Shaq would face them up, and they'd hack the crap out of him, and they just stopped calling it. They're like, Shaq, look how big you are. What does that matter?
But who's comparable to that in today's NBA? Has it gone away because of hand checking, or is it just because there aren't guys like that right now? There's nobody in the NBA right now.
Maybe Embiid gets a little bit of that at times. Not to the extent that Shaq.
I'm talking from a body point standpoint.
Like that size.
I think you don't see guys get knocked down in the NBA as much anymore because there aren't guys like that to knock them down. There's nobody that looks like Shaquille O'Neal in the NBA right now.
No.
There's nobody in the NBA that looks like Patrick Ewing. That day and age, that type of NBA player is gone.
I just think defense within the 3-point lines. I just think it's been forced to be turned down a little bit. Like to me, it's unrealistic to defend a player like a Steph Curry who has an elite dribbling ability
and an elite free throw
and elite free throw shooting. It's impossible to simply move your feet and play defense on somebody. It's impossible, in my opinion. I'm sure there are some guys with some really quick feet that are able to, but aggressive defense looks the same no matter where you go. That's why it travels. As they say, defense travels.
Yes.
You know what I mean? How many times if we can go back to the 90s, did we see a Chicago Bulls team just completely dominate somebody defensively with the front court? Jordan, Scotty, Ron Harper, and Rodman. Everybody's got a 7-foot wingspan, and they got at least one hand on your hip at all times. You can't do that, right? And so you have guys shooting from 30 feet out, which they really don't have to.
Right.
Just be James Harden and Euro step your way to the hole. Now they're taking that away from. It is starting to flip a little bit. It is starting to flip a little bit. They're not giving, he was in my landing space, so I'm just going to act like I
fell into it.
So thank God they're getting rid of that. But
we often hear, specifically in today's day and age of the NBA,
and we're getting away from the NFL.
That's fine, because I think this is topical, because in today's day in the NBA, because there's rules change come to the association too. In today's day in the NBA, there's so many guys that get criticized for being escorts to the basket and not playing defense. Do you think a lot of that is because they feel, okay, no matter what I'm going to be able to do, because I'm not allowed to get inside on this guy, I'm not going to be able to stop him anyway, so might as well concentrate on the offensive side of things?
Pretty much. It's a way.
Because I think he gets looked at as lazy, but I think that's part of it.
It's been taken away from them. That's literally all they can do is trail them and maybe yell at them as they go up for their shot, to try to throw them off a little bit mentally. But the old tricks of the trade of just keeping contact with a guy, getting into the saying, getting his jersey, you know what I mean? Like, you can't do that anymore.
What's your thoughts on this on Twitter? You can get at me at Jimmy Allen 1620. Eddie wants to know, so Reggie Miller could play and Steph Curry couldn't then? What's your explanation for Reggie Miller being able to shoot the way he did then?
Because Reggie, I don't think, in order for that to happen, Steph Curry would have to Reggie would go to the hole and dunk on you. It didn't happen very often.
Steph does it all the time. Hold on. Are you going to tell me that Steph Curry isn't one of the best finishers at the rim in the NBA?
Curry is a finesse finisher. Reggie Miller.
What?
He's not a finesse finisher at the rim?
No.
Kyrie Irving is not a finesse. They're the same thing going to the hole.
Steph Curry is one of the top 3 finishers in the NBA right now.
And it's finesse.
No way.
You don't
totally
see Steph
disagree.
Curry doing a bump into it like maybe once out of 1,000
Because nobody
layups
can
he
guard
gets.
him off the dribble.
Back to our original point. Yes.
I don't think that changes with the hand check, though. I don't think so. He moves so well off the ball and has the ability to get to the rim so well. That's what allows him to open up those deep shots, because you have to account for him inside the paint, because he can beat 90% of the guys guarding him.
Okay, so if he's beating them off the dribble, who is actually contesting him at the rim?
But the other side of that is his movement without the ball. And I don't think that gets talked about enough.
No,
and
it doesn't.
And that's why he's able to get open as often as he is. Does the lack of being able to account for him by touching him factor into it? Absolutely, to some degree.
No, but if I can send a message to him when he does get to the paint, because I'm going to put him on his butt, it guarantees.
Really
I don't even care if it goes in.
I was really worried what word you were using.
I've met my quota for offensive remarks for the day.
No,
but you know what I mean?
I think there's something to that, but I think it's a minuscule amount. And I'm going to send you a highlight clip today of Steph Curry's violent dunks.
They're putting Reggie Miller into the front row, and I know I wouldn't throw Reggie Miller into that group of. Reggie did it. He did it in that era. You know what I mean? Where guys didn't like Reggie Miller, first of all, so they were waiting to get shots in on him.
Probably for good reason.
You know what I mean? It's just a different mindset. I respect that tweeters.
Shout out to Eddie.
Eddie, thank you. That is a good point. I don't compare Reggie Miller and Steph Curry at all. I other than their shooting ability, which Steph is a little bit better, obviously, because he holds a record.
Sure. More championships also.
Reggie was 6'8"? You know, he was a little thin, but he was strong.
I mean, Steph's not exactly putting on the pounds either.
But Steph is 6'3"?
I think 6'4".
6'4" at best.
Reggie Miller's 6'7". Steph Curry's 6'2".
There you go. Dang, 6'2".
Yeah, that might even be a little generous.
So
actually.
I think Steph has adapted, you know, to what he can do and what he does most efficiently. Obviously.
Has Akron, Ohio, put out more basketball talent than any other city in the world? Steph, LeBron.
Is that where he was born?
Yeah, they're both from Akron.
No, he's from Carolina, North Carolina.
That's where he grew up. That's where he grew up. He was born in Akron.
Possibly.
We're going to get to Mike Sauter, the Director of Sports and Digital Content for NBA Preps, when we come back here on Sharp and Benny in the morning. Lots of basketball, lots of football talk. Rob Love in for Damon, Jimmy, and for Gary. We'll be right back, 8:27 on a Friday morning with Sharp and Benny in the morning.
If you've somehow been able to watch this long, we're almost back to land after over an hour of just water, as we continue on with Sharp and Benning from Friday, August 12th.
Mike, how was your day as hectic as you thought it was going to be?
No.
Good, that's what I wanted to hear. I'm happy you guys got everything taken care of. Kiddos are all good?
Yeah, everything's good.
Fantastic, man. Hey, a little bit of a change-up. There's a couple extra games in week 0 of high school football this year. Are you happy with that? Do you like the structure in which they added to week 0 this year?
Yeah, I mean, it really puts a spotlight on prep in Southwest. And then, North Platte, Hatfield South, I think Fremont, Columbus is week 0, 2. And, the Class A, I guess, games. But the prep, Prep Bellevue West, I think, is a pretty big game to start the year. I think there'll be a lot of attention, one, given to that one, and two, paid attention to that one. So, two teams that have state title aspirations, frankly. So, I think both teams are one of probably 7 that can have a legit shot to get it done.
Mike, I'm a worst first fan. Who do you think could be a potential? Not necessarily they have to be worse last year in Class A, but is there anyone on your radar that could be a potential, worst to first team this year for a state title run?
Yeah, well, I don't know about, making
Or postseason,
making playoff runs.
Yeah.
I could say, like, making it to the playoffs, maybe to haven't in a while, or
Right.
it's been a long time, something like that.
There you go.
I put Brian in that conversation.
Okay.
Omar Brian.
That's actually one of the things I was going to bring up too. I mean, you obviously have the ability to talk to a bunch of coaches across the board with everything you do with any of your preps and the Mike Sauter show and all that. Is there anybody that you talk to, coach-wise, that maybe you weren't as high on their team before speaking to them, but after the conversation you felt a little bit better about where they're going to be this year?
Not really, because the kind of coaches' corner conversations aren't necessarily about their team, right? It's not about the year. It's more about their culture and them as a person in a program and stuff. So it's a little bit deeper than just kind of what your season outlook is going to be. But I will say in Class B, I think Omaha Gross is going to be a team that will win some games and be a top 10 team and be really good. I think Gross is pretty good and has a chance to kind of make a nice run in Class B. And it's been a while for them, but I do think that they're, I'm not sure if you call them sleeper in Class B, but they're one of those teams. And I think Blair is kind of on the comeback, right? Like, I think they're going to have a nice year or two, or have a chance to have a nice year or two.
When Rob asked that question, the first team I thought of was Omaha Bryan as well. How much of that is because of how much they impressed at the locker room camp?
That's what it is. They did, the locker room camp, they did a tremendous job. They were, they're just really well organized. They have enough athletes. They don't have the depth that coaches would like. Every coach will tell you they don't have enough depth. But I think that they've done a really nice job, and I think that they could. I'm not saying they're winning a state title or anything, but what I am saying, it's been forever since Brian made the playoffs. So I think they could maybe have the potential to sneak into the playoffs somewhere, which would be a pretty big feat for them.
Speaking of camps and summer work that players have been putting in this season, this off season, who are some players that you were excited to get a glimpse of week 0/1?
Yeah, I've been to 7 practices now, six practices since Monday. I'm planning on going to Millard South today, or this afternoon. So I'm excited to see that, see what they look like. Obviously, it's different. Ty Wisdom's new coach, taking over for Andy Means. Cam Kozal is playing baseball right now for Team USA stuff. So I don't think he'll be there. He's going to be the starting quarterback. So, kind of what do they have behind him? The system changed. The staff kind of changed too. So, I think Millard South is the one I'm most excited about, because I guess I didn't know. I don't know as much about them. You kind of already know. Gretna's going to be good. Westside's going to be good. Belly West's going to be good. Prep is really good. Prep is really good. I was there yesterday afternoon, and their offensive and defensive line is really good. It's the best that I've seen so far. I'm going to try and get out to Elkhorn South on Monday to watch them, but their prep front is definitely the best I've seen. I don't think anyone questions that at all either. They returned their top 7 offensive linemen from last year, and for high school, that's quite a bit.
It is, yes.
Yeah. So
for college, that's quite a bit.
Any level, yeah.
Nebraska might take that these days.
Well, Nebraska might take Sam Sledge today if they could have.
You ain't wrong.
That kid's pretty dang good.
Man, we had him in studio, and you've obviously been in here. And those 2 whiteboards where the guys kind of right out their weeks that he took almost
Locked
up
it out.
one of them by himself.
Yeah,
that's a big boy.
He's really good. I know super sixes and whatever and all that stuff is going to come out in the next couple days or so or week.
You think Shamar Brown finds himself on that list?
No, but I think he's if not the best back in Class A, then I'm not quite sure who would be better. He's pretty good, and he'll run for a lot of yards.
Especially behind that offensive line.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so, and he's tough and physical. He can catch it, too. I will tell you, I mean, maybe it's just recency bias here, but I was very impressed with Prep, and I think they're going to be really, really good. And their first two games, Prep's first two games are pretty tough. You have, week 0 against Bellevue West, and then week 1 is the rivalry game against the red team in what I think called the West Side. So, if Prep can go 2-0, if Prep can go 1-1, that's good. If they can go 2-0, that's even better. Their first 5 games are really, really tough too. So, that's they got a challenge. They got to stay healthy. But I think they're pretty good. I went to Bellevue West the other day, went back kind of to them, saw them, and they have a few. There's obviously, receiver is always going to be good there. Here's the name. He's going to have a really big year for them. If he stays healthy and everything. At the wide receiver position. And it's not Davon Hall. And it's not Cairo Jordan. It's Ben Goodwater.
Yeah, that's actually somebody, when we had Daniel Kalin in studio, brought up specifically.
Yeah, he's going to have a big year. Got a chance to have a big year for them.
Hey, what do you think Bennington looks like post Dylan Moston?
I think they'll be pretty good. Isaac Connor's he's a all Class B All State or whatever you want to name it. First team guy as a receiver. Cale Bird is probably in the conversation of one of the best quarterbacks in Class B, and maybe one of the best in state. But I think they're going to be just fine. Their numbers are really good. Saw them quite a bit in June. I think they're going to be. They'll be fun. They'll obviously look different. Dylan Mostic broke every record. But I think they'll kind of throw it around, check it around a little bit, maybe more. Yeah, that goes. They still have a bunch of really good athletes. They're definitely in the conversation. I think B is kind of you start with Guts Bluff. They're good. And Guts Bluff, and then you're in your Scuts and Benningtons and Northwest and stuff like that, because Aurora dropped down to C1. So, good luck, C1.
Yeah, I was going to say, well, that probably wraps that up.
Still got to play the games, but
right.
Aurora's really good. And C1's really tough. Ashton Greenwood in C1 is a team, and I'm going to go see them on Monday morning. So you have Ashton Greenwood, Pierce will be back. Abram Schulting and Ben Bramer, obviously good. Abram Schulting was their quarterback. And then McCook went to C1 to Lakeview returns. They're not going to be quite as good at the beginning of the year. Lost a lot of talent from last year's team, but they'll be in the conversation. Lakeview, the defending, I guess their team that won the state championship last year in C1, goes to Ashland Greenwood in week 1. So
Coach Thompson really likes his team this year too.
Yeah, they're good. They're pretty good. They were good last year. They'll be definitely in the mix for sure. I'm kind of excited to get out and see them on Monday. And when I go to practices, I write these practice reports. I'm not there for 5 minutes to take a picture and say I was there. And I like to kind of dive in a little deeper and be there the whole time and kind of on the field and watching and talking to coaches obviously and little bit of flares and things. So gives me a better feel for what I am planning on seeing or kind of can see as the season comes along.
Kind of sticking with that theme of players and their seasons. Is there anyone that you feel is not getting, not really, it doesn't have to be national recruiting attention, but it could be regional. But is there somebody that makes a big jump this year and gets on the recruiting map here locally?
Yeah, I think Sam Sledge is severely underrated. I already talked about that. I think he's phenomenal. Let's see. I think Caleb Benning's gonna pop more. He's such a good football player. I mean, he's a really good athlete. He's so smart.
Caleb is very instinctual on the field.
And on the court.
Yeah,
and on the court.
Yeah, on the basketball court as well.
Yeah, he is. I was there Monday morning, 6 a.m. practice, right? It's, first practice, I get it, energy, everything. He is so good. His football IQ is off the chart. I think he probably deserves a little more kind of juice. One reason why he probably hasn't so far from a national, perspective is, he hasn't gone to the camps and the this and that. He hasn't done that because he hasn't needed to, and I don't know if he'd ever find time. Because he's just a multi-sport guy. But I think
Damon's out of town every week with him.
Right. So a guy that should get more run, I'll give you two, and senior. So Corver Dema from Gretna is really, really good and plays with a super high motor. He's great. He's got some D2 kind of stuff right now as far as recruiting is concerned. I loved him. I loved him last year. I thought he was fantastic. So I think he's one that in the senior class. And then Henry His brother Henry is another guy. I'm kind of excited to see them on Monday with see what that looks like, defensively for them, because you have Maverick Noonan, and I think Henry last year kind of played opposite of him, but he's big, strong, kind of make a name for himself guy. So I think those are two sort of guys that will or should kind of have a little more juice as well.
Mike Sauter from Many of You Press joins here on Sharp Bet in the Morning. Kind of sticking with that theme of guys that maybe get some attention this year. It's kind of hard at 1-9. We had the new head coach at Mount Michael and Alan Burrell, and the things are changing that program. Have you had a chance to see Connor Keneally yet?
I have not. Well, they were at our 7-on-7 event. So in June, or what is that, late June, July. So no, in a game setting or practice, no, not yet.
That's a kid that I'm excited to see what he can do in his senior campaign.
Right. I know Coach Burrell talked to me, when we talked, he said, that, hey, you got to watch out for this kid. He's coming, he's good. He just needed a little bit more kind of attention and get his name out there and stuff like that. So we'll see, what that looks like. Got to have a line in front of him a little bit.
Do you have a list of games that you're going to attend in week 1 and where you plan on being after that week?
No, I don't know yet. I do. The Pinnacle Bank Game of the Week is kind of a fan vote, where to send me. So I don't know. Not sure yet. So I know week 0. Obviously, I'll be at Prep WS, and after that, I'm not sure, but I think 2 of the options will be the Prep Westside game, and then Ashland Greenwood and Lakeview, I think, will be another option on week 1. But outside of that, I'm not sure yet. I haven't looked that deep, I guess.
We'll get you out of here.
I got to get to a couple of softball and volleyball games before that.
We'll get you out of here on this. Who are the top 3 teams in Class A right now?
Probably how it should start. It will start. I think you got to start with Gretna. because of the returning, state champs and have the quarterback and St. Flores and that. For me, if I was doing it, I would probably go prep left side 2-3, give or take either way. So that's how I would start the year, I guess, and feel comfortable doing it that way.
That's Mike Sauter from Many of Your Preps. Mike, thanks for bailing on me this morning.
Yeah.
Have a good one, Sauter.
Thanks, Mike.
Yeah,
But he was supposed to fill in this morning, but he had some stuff come up, and I was 100% kidding there. It's perfectly fine. More than happy to spend another morning with Rob Love. Glad that he had time to talk to us, though, because I think this football season is very exciting, and Mike is obviously the absolute best at what he does. Thank you to Mike for joining us. I'm Jimmy Allen in for Gary Sharp. That is Rob Love in for Damon Benning this morning, 8:50 on a Friday morning. We're going to wrap up the third hour into the last leg of this race that I've been running all week here on Sharp Betting.
Something you probably do know.
Progressive can not only offer you a great price when you bundle home and auto, they offer you around the clock.
Sharp betting on 1620thezone.com and the 1620 The Zone app.
Finishing up the third hour of Sharp Betting in the morning. Thank you very much for joining us. Thank you very much for calling and complaining that we're here. Thank you very much to Mike Sauter for joining us. Talking all things high school sports. We're watching the Ohio State-Michigan game from a couple of years ago.
A.J. Barrett just carried it in.
I mean, J.T. Barrett.
Or J.T.
A.J. Hawkman, the linebacker.
Fabulous hair.
2007-ish. You have a favorite rivalry in college football?
Nebraska OU.
I mean, can you still call... I know they played last year and they're going to play this year, and I honestly think there's going to be a concentrated, because obviously they get Colorado back on the schedule for home and home after that, and I think there's going to be a concentrated effort to try to put those old school rivalries on the schedule. Can you still call it a rivalry if it doesn't happen every year, though?
I do.
Okay.
I'm
asking for your
understand.
personal preference, because I think there's a lot of people that feel that way, but...
I know what you mean.
To me, and obviously we're getting the backyard brawl back this year between Pitt and West Virginia. I don't know if you can call it a rivalry anymore if you play once a decade, twice a decade.
It's still like if the Cowboys never played the Eagles for let's say a 5 to 6 or 7 year period, and they reconvene, it's still, who's not going to still call that an NL East match, rivalry?
See, because I know, and not to change anything we talk about today back to basketball, but I know a lot of people talk about the LA-Boston rivalry, and it feels like that's even lost steam because they don't play each other as much. And
But it's still relevant when they do.
is it though? Right now, in today's NBA, is the Lakers versus Celtics really relevant?
They bring reference to it. I guarantee you the broadcast will bring reference to it. Knicks Heat still bring reference to it. They still play Jeff Van Gundy holding on to Alonzo Mourning's leg.
Does that make it a rivalry though? Or is it, hey, this is a great debate. What makes a rivalry? Is it we have to beat this team every year to win a championship, or is it that you hate their fans? Because I think there's some element to that.
It's the fans.
Oh, right?
It's
Yeah.
about the
And I think the players have to be involved in it to make it a rivalry too. And I think that's why I don't think Nebraska, Oklahoma, and Nebraska, Colorado feels like a rivalry anymore, because how many of those kids care about Nebraska versus Oklahoma? Zero?
They don't. We do.
Yeah. But it's much better when the players are vested. And there might, and maybe more in Lincoln than Norman this year. There might be a couple more guys in Lincoln that are salty about the way that game in Norman ended last year versus almost a new crop of guys coming into Oklahoma with a brand new head coach.
How about I switch it up a little bit
Yeah, go ahead.
for the sake of the discussion? The number 2 is probably OU Texas, Red River Shoe.
Not even Michigan, Ohio State? Is that in the top 5 for you?
Ohio State is just now. I do believe a rivalry isn't much of a rivalry if you get smeared 7 years out of 8.
They're literally in a 2 overtime game on the television right now.
Yeah, okay.
I can't believe this is this. It is 9 o'clock on a Friday morning for Sharp and Betting in the morning. We do have Mike Schaefer from Huskers 24/7 joining us next. We're going to talk more things. Nebraska versus Northwestern. What does Dublin look like? Teddy Prohaska, Turner Horkin, are they healthy and more here on 1620 Zone?
The Fullerton McDonald's deal. 1620 The Zone, 1620thezone.com, and the 1620 The Zone app. Here's Jimmy Allen and Rob Love.
Here it comes. A swing and a miss. Ball game. And the Guardians have swept the Tigers. They get their 9th win in extra innings. And after Detroit got 2 in the 9th to tie it, Cleveland comes back to beat Detroit in 10 innings, 4-3.
Welcome back to Sharp Betting in the Morning. Jimmy Allen and Rob Love in for the guys this morning. That is a highlight from the Cleveland Guardians, which could only mean that Michael J. Schaefer from Huskers 24/7 is joining us here on the line. Schaefer, how are you this morning?
I'm good. How are we doing, gentlemen?
Not as good as your Guardians, man. 5-game win streak. How you feeling about it?
Pretty good, but you're only as good as your most recent losing streak. I mean, that's how baseball works. So they got the Blue Jays this weekend. We'll see if they can sneak out of Toronto with at least one. I'll feel okay about it.
A little stiffer competition than the boys in Detroit.
Yeah, well, you know, the Tigers are really bad. They're just a bad organization and a bad team right now. So Cleveland could get more games against Detroit. I'd be okay with that. I think Tom Hamilton was saying on the radio yesterday, since 2016, Cleveland has won 15 more times against Detroit in their contest. They're like 50 games over the medium spot. I guess I don't know how I'm phrasing this, but
the
they're like
middle of the pack, basically.
Something like that. So it's absurd. The Tigers are really bad.
Worst franchise, Tigers or Lions?
Oh, the Lions. I mean, the Tigers at least have had moments, and they've had, like, they were in 2 World Series, and they weren't competitive in either of them, but they were there. They won their division. They were like a feared opponent in 2012 or whatever. The Lions in my entire lifetime have never been feared by anyone.
I only asked you that because Chance is a Lions fan. I don't know.
Like, I famously poo-pooed the whole Matthew Stafford trade, because I still don't think he's that great.
Agreed.
But he certainly was for the Rams at times last year. And I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of hype for Dan Campbell's second year in Detroit. I don't get that.
Come on, D's. D's nuts.
I'd take the under on the win total there. And I'd feel pretty good about it.
As somebody that bet the win total for the over on the Lions, I hope you're wrong.
Well, sell me on it. Like, what's the case for this game? They have, are you really that excited about DeAndre Swift? They have, less known wide receivers than the Nebraska Cornhuskers, and I don't even know if Nebraska has great wide receivers.
I really like Amon-Ra St. Brown. I think he's a guy that could be a star in this league for several reasons. He's got elite speed in my mind, and they seem to have found a way to utilize him kind of in the Deebo Samuel-esque role a year ago, more of like a jet sweep than an actual running back guy. And I mean, I just really feel like Jared Goff can only go up from a year ago. I don't know if that's necessarily a term of endearment, but Jamal Williams, I think, is going to be a factor in that run game this year too. And you added DJ Chark to the equation. I mean, they've added some pieces, maybe not anybody that's to write home to the Hall of Fame about, but.
Well, yeah. So they've had Hall of Famers.
That's a good point. Calvin Johnson was okay, I guess.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I don't see it. And maybe it's just a complete bias of watching the Lions flail for 30 years, but yeah, I don't see it. We can revisit this and.
Shafe, I wish you could see Chance. I wish you could see Chance just squirming in his chair right now.
Yeah.
Hey, this game in Dublin, though, it's much closer. If it's much closer than the game in Lincoln was a year ago, and it resembles more of the closer game we've come accustomed to seeing between Nebraska versus Northwestern, but Nebraska still squeaks out a win. Is that good enough for you to be happy at the start of the season, or in your eyes, does it have to be impressive again for them to get to the momentum they want to?
I think the name of the game is just get out of Dublin with a win. Honestly, I don't expect whatever happens in Dublin to be reflective of what Nebraska is for much of the 2022 season. I mean, you're talking about 2 teams that have a lot of question marks that are going to be playing each other on a week 0 in kind of a weird circumstance. It's hard for me to extrapolate that this is going to be
is the kind of game that tells you a lot about your team one way or the other. I mean, we're going to know a lot more about Nebraska by the time they're done with Georgia Southern. And you get that extra 2 games in there. Even though you're playing North Dakota and Georgia Southern, you're still going to know more about the team, I think, than you will in that first game. Because there's so many firsts in there. It's the first with Casey Thompson. It's the first with Mark Whipple. It's the first with a number of coaches and players. I mean, you have such a different, unique roster, and you're doing this in a different, unique setting. It's just hard for me to think that anything matters more than beyond just getting a win. They win 13-10, and it's ugly and terrible, and you don't know if the defense is good or Northwestern's offense is bad. You don't know if Northwestern's defense is good or Nebraska's offense is bad. It doesn't matter. They just have to leave with a win. It's the simplest, easiest sort of parameter possible, but very difficult for Nebraska. Just leave with a win. But if they just leave, however it looks, however they play, whatever the stats are, just come home 1-0, and that's all that really matters in that country.
Mike, have you noticed any slight differences in preparation by the coaching staff leading up to week 0, given the travel and transport and logistical factors involved?
Not a lot yet, but I think we're coming into that. I think these next 2 weeks we've had a shift in kind of what the media schedule is going to look like. I mean, they're a week away from leaving. Yeah. It's Monday that they're going to be flying out of that game week. So, I mean, it's we're not far from it. They're only still here in town for like 10 more days. So they've got a lot to do. I think they also have to kind of tweak kind of what the schedule is going to look like. I'm probably more intrigued by what the return week looks like. That North Dakota week, where they're going to get back at like 5 a.m. in Lincoln on Sunday morning, go to bed, wake up in the afternoon, and have to, start going through meetings and prep for North Dakota and practice, get their body clocks back going. So I think, and just from talking with people over there, I think there's more concern about they handle it on the back end, and that's, with a result either way. Like if they lose that game, that North Dakota game becomes scarier because they mentally have to be in a better spot. So I think there's more concern about the back end than the front end, but it's going to be a unique thing. I mean, and just add that to the list of things that's completely different about this experience.
We're in the middle of the Detroit Sports Hour with Michael J. Schaefer from Husker 24/7 on the line. Teddy Prohaska is still dealing with a little bit of the nagging issues from that injury a year ago. It sounds like Turner Corcoran is a little banged up as well. How much concern do you have about this offensive line as far as the injury bug goes, and at what point do you start to worry about the longevity of those 2 guys this season?
Well, this is a weird kind of dual answer. I have concern about both of those 2 guys, in Corcoran and Prohaska, because Nebraska really needs them to be healthy for a variety of reasons. I had always sort of wondered if Prohaska was even going to be available for this game against Northwestern, because that timeline turnaround seems really fast to me. And I know that, a number of guys, I think Adrian Peterson was one of the fastest to come back from it with a late November and was ready to go that next year and ran for 2,000 yards and everything else. But I kind of wonder if Nebraska is going to be able to get a full game. Teddy Prohaska and what that actually looks like, because it's still an ACL. You don't want to come back too soon. You don't want to push it too hard. But he's been full go, and he'll be the first to say that he's been rusty and he's got to get better. But I think Nebraska really needs both of those guys to be honest. Like if they're not able to give you their best going against Northwestern, you might be better off looking at the backup just for that one game, or easing them into it. Maybe you're talking about a rotation on that offensive line. But the one thing that gives me a little bit of hope is they have a lot of depth. And, it's not depth that comes along with guys that are going to be all Big Ten performers if the starter steps out, but it's depth of guys that have played games before. I mean, if Kevin Williams has to come in and be your left tackle, he's at least started college football games. If Grant Banks has to come in and be the left guard, he's started college football games. Same for Ethan Piper. The only guy who doesn't really have that would be Henry Lutovsky, and he might have the most upside of all the backs. So I think that there's reason to be at least cautiously optimistic that from a personnel standpoint, Nebraska could withstand, guys being hurt or being slow to start the year, because they have more depth on that offensive line than what probably meets the eye or what you think about, given how bad they were.
given sticking with Prohaska and Corcoran, if they are to be put on a pitch count per se, how do you feel that may affect the running game against Northwestern?
Yeah, I mean, that's like even if you remove the pitch count, the running game against Northwestern is like $1 million question, right? But I mean, we went through this last year where Nebraska was running the ball well, and they're committed to getting downhill, and they were going to find a workhorse running back, and they showed up in Champaign, and it might have been the most pathetic running game attempt ever for Nebraska. And so I honestly don't know. I don't know how much it would affect any of that, because if Prohaska isn't 100% full go, if Turner Corcoran isn't 100% full go, how does that affect the run game? You know, so if you're only getting 80% of those guys, is that better than the backup? Is that, you know, does that limit your ability to get the push that you need against the Northwestern front that they weren't good last year, but Pat Fitzgerald usually has a pretty good defense, and so you can at least expect them to technically be sound and to be in the areas where they need to be. So it's kind of a fascinating question all the way around. I look for Nebraska to be able to move the football on the ground, regardless of what their offensive line looks like. I think they have a little bit better feel for their running back room at this point. I think the offensive line is going to do fine. And I've really kind of come around with, you know, Donovan Raiola and what that offensive line can do in terms of, you know, running the football. I'm a little bit more hesitant about how the pass protection is going to hold up, especially if Teddy Prohaska is as rusty and is, you know, learning the game. We talk about him like he's a, you know, 2-year starter. He played 2 games at left tackle. Like that's the list of his resume right there. They were really good, you know, game and a half against maybe the best pass rusher in college football last year. But still, I mean, there's still a lot of development left for him too.
Speaking of longevity at starters, Nebraska's replacing 2 guys with 6 years of experience at safety. Who do you expect to take over those 2 safety roles?
Yeah, I was talking to Brandon Christopherson this morning, and he feels like Omar Brown has really kind of made a push lately. And they've got kind of 4 guys there, but he thinks the start of the year is going to be Miles Farmer, Marquise Buford, and then he kind of had Brown and Deshaun Singleton as the backup. You know, Travis Mystery loves to rotate guys. Wouldn't be surprised if whoever starts here at the beginning maybe isn't the one starting, but they're still going to be involved. So I would look for, you know, some form of Farmer Buford followed by Brown and Deshaun Singleton. And I look for Omar Brown to take a job, you know, by the end of this. He's a really talented guy. Way back when, I had him probably as my number 1 transfer portal addition. I mean, he's the guy that had the most success out of anybody, has the most experience out of anybody that has come in. And we saw that last year with Samari Toure. It took a little bit, and then he became a guy that was a really effective player. And just, you know, the transition coming from the FCS level, you're talking about the FCS newcomer of the year with 7 interceptions, as defensive back. He's going to play a little bit of a different position. But I would definitely keep an eye on Omar Brown to kind of make a surge early in the season.
Do you think that, speaking of the defensive backfield, do you think Tommy Hill and talents of the like that we have this season in the defensive backfield, do you think they will have a larger effect in helping the defensive line be successful, or will the new faces on the defensive line help the defensive secondary make their job easier?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely going to be kind of working together, certainly. But I think I don't have a lot of concern about Nebraska's ability to defend the pass. And part of that is I think the pass rush is going to be good. I think between Garrett Nelson, Caleb Tanner, and O'Shawn Mathis, you got 3 guys right there that can wreak havoc. I think that Eric Shenander is going to get a little weird, get a little fun with how he brings some pressures. And he needs that pressure to come from guys like Luke Reimer and Nick Hendricks, too. I mean, when he calls a middle blitz, they have to not only get home, they have to be at minimum disruptive. But 2, when they have that opportunity, and Luke Reimer was guilty of this a little bit too, he kind of would come in and then quarterbacks were able to evade him a little bit. So they got to be a little bit better there. And then I like, you know, Blaise Gunnerson, Jamari Butler behind those guys. And then you throw in that secondary. Travis Fisher can't stop talking about Tommy Hill. I think Quentin Newsom's set up to have a good year. I just think if Nebraska is able to force teams to pass a little bit, they can unleash their pass rushers and just maybe some exotic blitz packages. This might be a team more so than last year that's built to turn other teams over. They might give up more yards or big plays, but but they might also be a better opportunistic defense. Last year was very much a bend, don't break. That's how they were built. This year kind of feels like we're coming after you, and if you put that ball up there, we think our guys are winning 50-50.
Let's say that's the case and Nebraska wins. It's a much better year to win maybe 9 games. You think Eric Shenander's a guy whose name comes up for job openings at the head coaching position somewhere else in college football?
I think it should. I kind of hesitate to know where that would come from. Like with Northern Iowa, call him to be their head coach, and would he take that job? I think he could probably do better than that. But like if a MAC school comes calling, and you're Eric Shenander, do you want to stick around and see if you can get to a Power 5 program? Or do you just go ahead and start your career as a head coach at that point? I mean, I really like Eric Shenander. I think that he is going to be a very good head coach at some point in his career. I don't know if that's going to happen right away next season, but if Nebraska has success and that defense kind of does what I think it can, he's going to be on the short list for some of those 3-5 jobs. And I think he'd be a really intriguing candidate. I really like what he brings to the table. I mean, I don't think this is breaking news by any means, but I suspect he's the most popular coach on that team over there. He just has a great relationship with a number of guys, and he's well loved. And I think that a program would be well suited to look into him.
How important is, and not that Northwestern is a juggernaut of an opponent, nor is this a super important game for, say, the season's outlook, but how important is this game's outcome for the future outlook of, say, the 2023 and 2024 recruiting class sentiment about Nebraska going forward with the recruiting process?
Well, I mean, if you start off 0-1, you're going to have a lot of commentary about whether Scott Frost is even going to make it through the end of the year. So I think that in itself kind of puts a potential stall on what 2023 and 2024 recruiting could look like. If you win that game and you get kind of the runway leading to 3-0 Nebraska versus undefeated Oklahoma, you're probably talking about 2 ranked teams. A game in Lincoln that has a little bit of juice to it for the first time since the sort of atrocious 2019 Nebraska-Ohio State game. Then we're probably talking about a pretty big visit weekend and a number of 2024 and 2025s coming to campus and all of that stuff. So it really kind of feels like it could go large on either side, and which is sort of ridiculous because it's one result and it doesn't have to tell the story of the season. But that's kind of where we're at. Like, Nebraska's in a series of these sort of tests where it kind of has to be passed.
Yeah.
And if you fail, it just feels like the ground is going to crater from underneath.
So, do you think, let me ask you this follow-up. So let's say they don't pass with 100% or 90% plus on the test. What if they only pass with, say, a 70 to 75%? Does that kind of, do you think that, say, local recruits especially, like Malachi Coleman and the such, do you think they might be like, here we go again, and just kind of be turned off and they're expecting to see more with the personnel that's been added on the coaching staff and as well as on the field?
It's possible. I mean, I look at a guy like Malachi, and I don't know that a losing season precludes him from ending up at Nebraska. I think a lot of it comes down to who's going to coach him and does he feel comfortable with that person. If there's a coaching change, he's going to keep a real big eye on what happens to Mickey Joseph, who's got a contract through 2024 through 2023 anyways. So for a Malachi Coleman, if Mickey Joseph is still involved in some capacity, I don't think he goes anywhere else. I think as long as Mickey Joseph's at Nebraska, Malachi Coleman wants to be at Nebraska. But for other recruits, it might be a little bit of a different thing. You look at someone like Caleb Benning, and if Nebraska goes 4-8, he's probably not looking at Nebraska thinking, okay, my dad went here, this is where I want to spend my time. You're probably talking more about a Keegan Johnson situation at that point. And then where you've got Tyson Terry, you've got Christian Jones. I mean, there's some real talent. Deshaun Prince. There's some guys further down this class, Carter Nelson, that, if Nebraska doesn't win this season, if Scott Frost is fired and they have to start over, it's really going to depend on who gets that head coaching job and the sort of work that they do right away within the state. Because I don't think there's any real slam dunk I mean, I think a lot of people at this point in time are like, okay, most of my adult life, Nebraska's been bad. Why do I want to go there for school? I mean, I think that's really what it's going to come down to. So, if it gets really bad and then you kind of have a bizarre hiring situation, you end up with another Mike Riley of sorts. But that could end up really hurting your ability to recruit in state. I think it only gets harder to keep the kids closer to home when it doesn't feel like winning is a real option.
Did you get your IT customer service issue worked out the other day?
Yeah, I mean, one of them. I'm sure I've had 7-1 pop up. So I used to think that I could handle a lot of this stuff, but now I just realize I'm an idiot like everybody else. So I'm not special. I don't have any talent. All I can do is get on the chat or on the phone and talk to whoever. They have to walk me through it, and they have to explain it like 4 times, and then it'll work, and then I'll feel really stupid because it was kind of a simple solution all the way along. But that's life. That tells me I'm getting old.
Well, if you ever need me, buddy, just give me a phone call and I got you. That's Mike.
I will keep it in mind.
That's Mike J. Schaefer from Huskers 24/7. Schaefer, we appreciate you. Have a good day, bud.
All right, guys. Have a good one. Have a good weekend coming up, and enjoy the Dodge games before the season starts.
You too, sir. You too. Go Guardians.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Oh, I think I hung up. Sorry, Schaefer. I didn't mean to hang up on you. My bad. That was Michael J. Schaefer from Husker 24/7. Apparently Detroit sports extraordinaire. We are going to take a break here. Come back, touch on a few topics. Matt Versal is going to join us at 9:40 to wrap up Sharp and Benny in the morning. Jimmy Allen in for Gary. Rob Love in for Dan Benny. We'll be right back.
The floor. The next segment of the podcast is refusing to play. Might have to skip it. And we're going to see if our fuel lasts until we can land. What islands are those? Take a quick look on my map here. Map is not wanting to tell me, but the islands to the northeast of Scotland, where we're heading. We're going to try to land there. KWL. I don't know if we'll make it that far, but we'll see. Let's try skipping that segment of the podcast. Here we go. 1620thezone.com and the 1620 The Zone app.
The Pizza King of Pisons, Matt Versal, joins us here at Sharp and Benny in the morning. Vers, I do apologize. There was some miscommunication between me and Chance there. I thought you were on at 9:40. I apologize for getting to you late.
No problem.
You sound like you're in a good mood. I'm assuming that's because you just got back from your world-famous nephew trip that you take once a year. Looks like you guys were up in Minneapolis. How much fun was that 10-inning game?
We were not at the 10-inning.
Oh, is it? Gotcha. Okay. I thought the day was the same.
Junior hit a baseball the hardest I've ever seen it hit. Maybe got 20 foot off the ground, and whoever's in the outfield probably died.
R.I.P. to that guy.
Yeah, it was a rope.
Was that the highlight of the trip, or was there a couple of things we had listed?
No, we didn't. It's just fun. We go have a good time. And, guys being dudes and all that stuff. And it just get them out of town, get them away from their parents, and let them get in trouble and do some stuff. Break a couple rules when nobody's looking and have some fun.
What's a good eating spot? I go to Minneapolis kind of frequently, and I never know where to eat. I try something different every time, and I've yet to be impressed. Do you have a suggestion?
Actually, you have a hidden gem there in the office. Sharpie gave you a bunch of stuff for his side of Minnesota. Matt's Bar and Grill, or Matt's Burger and Grill was good. Red Cow was another good place we ate. We got into town super late. We just ordered some takeout pizzas. It wasn't bad. But yeah. And then the next day we were at the Mall of America. We were waiting outside for our Uber when the guy started shooting in there, so we got lunch in there.
Oh,
We
wow.
stayed at the food court that day.
That's crazy.
Hey, man, I'm glad you guys were all right, though. I didn't
thank
realize
God.
that. I thought there was almost a couple days difference, so that's terrifying. I'm glad you're all right, though, Bruce. How are things looking out at Scott? You guys are getting Bennington week 1, no Dylan Mossick. How are things looking?
You know, boys have done a good job. I don't know much about any other position. I just know my guys are right and ready, so they worked hard, and we're probably in a little bit better shape than we've been in quite a while. We used to struggle to make our times on our early season gas was we're getting those times ready, so they wanna. They've got goals they've set, they've got things they want to do, and I'm just there to help navigate it.
I know you enjoy the work itself. Is there anybody in particular you've had a ton of fun working with this far into the season?
Say that again?
Is there anybody on the offensive line at Scott this year that you particularly had a lot of fun coaching so far up until this point in the season?
You know, we've got it's always fun when they're due this phase of the experiment because you've seen them as sophomores and they were scared essless and they didn't know what to do, they didn't know where they were going, and now I'm probably more in the older guys' ways that I'm actually helping them. They can fix a lot of their own problems. They can solve a lot of their puzzles themselves. So it's a fun thing to see them mature and evolve, and it's always good when you don't have to have a very, very basic football conversation. You can have high-level discussions of alignments and this guy moves here, he did this, we should do this. That to me is always cool. We've got a good set of seniors that know quite a bit, and a couple of juniors that are going to get in the mix and be very valuable to our team. But the evolution of it is always fun to me. I don't want them to be robotic. They have to understand concept, they have to understand scheme, and they have to understand responsibility in every situation that they play in, because I can't call timeout every time something changes.
Can this group
that's a cool thing to me.
Can this group of guys be good enough to get you the call up to fix the offensive line in Chicago?
I think that may be more of a front office problem, where you've got to make a little bit smarter decisions and commit to money getting these guys over there. But when there's no vision, or the vision is erratic, it's hard to tell guys to come to your team.
Playing at Nebraska or coaching and giving back to young student athletes, which do you enjoy more?
I'm having a little bit of trouble hearing you say that again.
Between your time as a player at Nebraska and giving and your time now coaching and giving back to young student athletes, which do you appreciate and enjoy more?
They go hand in hand to an extent. I was very fortunate through my whole career. I had a hell of an offensive line coach who's actually going to come out and practice this afternoon. And head coach who got down Kenny Fisher, he just passed away, but Brian Baby, offensive line coach, is going to come out. He texted me last night and he come check out practice and said, come whenever you want. Going to college and work with Bill Senator, Dan Young, and the things that they taught me. I'm wasting a gift if I don't pass it on. Now, probably more than ever, kids that need a little bit more guidance, a little more direction, a little more fire in their ass. That they can do whatever they want to do. They just have to do it. It's too much has been handed to some phases of our society. And so for me, I just try to pass on all the things that I've been passed on and put my little spin on them. They know I'm going to be hard on them, but it's only because I think the world of them. I think they have unlimited potential to do whatever they want to do in their lives. So that's probably for me. They're both very gratifying things. To be around greatness for 5 years, it was awesome. The teams I've been able to coach that on the field, it is really rewarding as well.
Matt Verzel joins us here on Sharp Betting in the morning. I know you usually like to wait till you get closer to the season because of injuries in the end of preseason or what have it. What do you think is more likely of a chance of happening? The Bears getting over 5.5 wins or Nebraska getting over their win total of 7.5?
I'd say that's a push.
Okay.
You push on both of them. Even with the half.
Even what I was going to say.
I got out of the prognostication business a long time ago because I learned people that know where I come from know who I am, the way I am. In my world, you're 3-9 until you're not 3-9. That's what happens to you. That's what's been shown. In the world of the Bears, you're 4-12, whatever they were last year, until you're not 4-12. And you may get new parts and pieces and all these kind of things, but I don't know how those are going to gel together. So, yeah, I'm a prove-it kind of guy. So, I struggle with the preseason, guessing on those bets, especially with money that I have. But you got to you're 3-9 until you're not 3-9, and that's, I think it would put everybody else's mind at ease instead of the hope and the optimism and just sometimes the crushing all of it. So listen, this is what we are until we're not. We kind of have to view it that way.
Agreed. I'm a diehard Bears fan as well, and so
yeah.
Jimmy bringing in let's change the topic real quick. let's go back. Let's go over to your alma mater. One more week left in fall camp before they got to start gearing up to head to Dublin. How does this coaching staff capitalize on a sense of urgency that they've had during this fall camp and make sure this team finishes this camp strong and focused?
I think you have to know. I think a big point would be the emphasis of urgency. Probably wouldn't be a word I would use, but pride people have to go a little more into it.
Yeah.
Go over it and show, and shut people up and prove that you're better than your record has indicated past years. That prove that all these little things that bit you in the heels, your inability to have great special teams play every game, your inability to close games, your inability to, all those things. The beauty of sport, you get another day to prove it. When you go out there, to me, I would have a goal in their mind that, listen, it is what it is. What was in the past, we set out to do today to prove that we've made great strides. Northwestern happens to be our opponent, they happen to get figured out. If you can score 35, then score 56. Just never let up, never ease up, hammer down the whole time. It's not your job to stop yourself. It's their job to stop you. So I would have that just to get out, and if you have any sense of pride in yourself, in your craft, in your team, in your family, in your teammates, in your coach, go be proud of what you've done, and don't leave with regret. Regret is a terrible thing. I've got a lot of them before. Go leave that proud of the product you put on the field and see how that. I've always said I would take a kid that plays 100 mile an hour wrong over 50 miles an hour right. 50 miles an hour in the right block team doesn't help. 100 miles an hour wrong, you might pick somebody off and you're running back, do something they can cut through. Just play hard.
Burns, you got me ready to put the chin strap on.
Absolutely.
Hey, speaking of which, you obviously host Husker Hangover. Do we get a preseason version of that, or do you wait till after the first game before we get you here?
No, there's no preseason. Just wait till the game and then go from there if it happens.
Is there a drink of choice for the first show?
I don't drink, and when I'm an edible guy, the hangover's not as bad. I feel a lot better when I wake up in the morning. But people are more than welcome to come down if they want. I'll make a drink in the break.
There you go. That's Matt Verzel. We appreciate you, Verz. Sorry again for getting to you late. It's good to catch up with you, though. We'd love to talk to you later in the season.
All right, boys. Have a good one.
Thanks, Verz.
Stop out of Paisan today, grab lunch, grab a break, have a conversation with Mike. Mike might be there too. Have a conversation with Matt. He might be able to inspire you today as well.
Absolutely.
Thanks to Verz for joining us. We'll be right back. We're going to talk a little bit more about the offensive line in Lincoln. We come back down some
1620 The Zone, 1620thezone.com, and the 1620 The Zone app.
Wrapping things up on Sharp and Betting in the morning. Thank you very much for hanging out with us all week. I've been here since Monday. Rob Love filling in today and yesterday. Jimmy Allen in for Gary Sharp. We talked to Matt Verzal. We talked to Mike J. Schaefer from Husker 24/7, and the common thing that kind of keeps being brought up ever since we talked to Sip and everything that was reported at practice was the health of arguably the two most important guys on the offensive line, Teddy Proska and Turner Corcoran. It's very strange to me, and I agree with the sentiment, but it's very strange to me that it seems like this running game is going to be okay even if those two guys aren't readily and available 100%. Because I think when you look at a guy like Anthony Grant, who a year ago, that offensive line at New Mexico Military Academy was not fantastic.
Who is a massive human being, by the way.
Yeah, which is why when they were talking about
shout out to you, Anthony Grant.
Him returning kicks, I was like,
that's
really
big.
Yeah, and maybe that's part of it, but it's just crazy to me how much the confidence level in that running back room has gone through the roof, and I think a lot of that is derivative of what. Not necessarily even as a group, but maybe just Ramir Johnson himself was able to do last year with a struggling offensive line.
Yeah.
And it's crazy to say that and then come back with he might be number 3 on the depth chart this year at that position, and they've kind of moved him to that hybrid Duck R spot just because there are guys that may be better than him and they just still want that ability on the field. Now the caveat to that is going to be, okay, if they can run the ball despite that offensive line, how does the passing game equate the same or fill into that?
Yeah.
Because if you can just sell out 9 to the box and leave 2 guys standing around the wide receivers because it ain't going to get there because you can't keep the quarterback upright, what does that look like? And how does a guy in Mark Whipple who wants to throw it more than he runs it and a guy in Mickey Joseph that wants to put it in the air as much as he wants, how much does that look different if, hey, the best thing we do is run the football?
Yeah. I mean, if they are able to be successful, as you said, without those guys on the front line, if you keep running it, and knowing, and like we say, we spoke to Coach Joseph. We know he wants it in the air.
That's what he said.
To his guys.
He said, I haven't met Whip yet, but the first thing I want to do is find out how many times I can put it in the air.
But him and Whip know how important running the ball is to any passing game.
Despite what Pat Narduzzi says.
Exactly. That could. My question. Okay, I'm gonna fire one back to you.
Yeah.
Do you think that causes a little bit of friction on the sideline amongst the coaches? What should be called next?
Which I think is a really easy thing to point at when you have 3 guys in Frost, Joseph, and Whipple that have never worked together before this season. The one thing that I think may balance the whole thing out, though, is Mark Whipple's not afraid to utilize his wide receivers in the run game, and which I think is a direct result of why Ramir Johnson is also playing wide receiver. But I think it's something that also we're going to see Trey Palmer be involved in, and maybe a guy like Brody Belt. I really don't want to see Omar Manning in that situation. I know we kind of saw it in the Northwestern game last year. Yeah, and that's that more than anything is what I want to see is assignment football for guys doing what makes them good football players. There's something to be said about taking guys out of their comfort zone. This isn't the year or the time to do that.
No, it's
not. We've said all this to not even mention Jaquez Yan up until this point. We talk about Northwestern was kind of his coming out party a year ago. He looks more healthy. He's not as big, but that might not be a bad thing.
No, not for him. No.
And what does that look like? Because I think if they can't run the ball, it may be less Gabe Ervin and more Jaquez Yan and Anthony Grant. I think it's Anthony Grant either way, right. And I've been adamant since he decided to come to Lincoln about that factor. But the other thing that hasn't really been talked about that much this week is the fact that Mark Whipple said that running back room is a little nicked up right now. Now, they've been nicked up for 4 years, so if they're nicked up and just not injured,
right,
that's fine. As long as guys are going to be available for week 1 against Northwestern, I don't think that's as big of a deal. But if they have success running the ball this year, like we expect them to do, I'm really excited to see if a guy like A.J. Allen, who's a true freshman, gets into the equation. If Emmett Johnson, the football player of the year in the state of Minnesota, is a true freshman, where they get factored in, because I feel like if you're having success, that's when you want to get your young guys in. Okay, this is what it can look like when we're firing on all cylinders. Now, if the running game is struggling, I would be surprised to see them in. And obviously the health of the offensive line, the health of that room is going to matter. But I think you've got two really young, talented guys that are exactly what Brian Applewhite is looking for in that running back room to complement the extensive amount of upperclassmen that you have with Ramir, with Anthony Grant, and obviously Gabe Irvin being a redshirt freshman. But that room seems to be the most buttoned up, and I said this yesterday, but for a team that there hasn't seemed to be any room be buttoned up until this point on the offensive side of the ball, it is a bit refreshing. But with health being the issue it has been for that position specifically up until this point in Scott Frost's tenure, to me, I mean, keeping that room healthy is almost as important as making sure they're being successful on the field. And they might go hand in hand up until this point.
Right. One thing, I would like to see us utilize our tight ends a little bit more exotically as well.
And
we have some excellent athleticism at the tight end position.
And Travis Vokalek is going to be that guy this year. But again, you had that guy in Austin Allen last night who had a catch for 15 yards in the NFL in a preseason game for the Giants. And I mean, if he can do it at that level, he probably should have been utilized a little more in Lincoln. And I hope that's something that Mark Whipple and Scott Frost.
All right, so we landed, didn't crash. The game didn't crash. We're in Sanday is apparently the name of our airfield. See if we can identify the island real quick. See if my map is working now. Off the northeast coast of Scotland. Looks like there's a body of water called the Clog. There's a body of water called Stronsay Firth. We might be... I don't know. We're somewhere... Oh, there's Sanday. The island is called Sanday. So we will continue on towards Scotland and the United Kingdom next time on Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020 World Tour.